You need space, whether we want to believe it or not. As a human body, you need space. The number one attack that the technocrats have on our being is the attack on our privacy. They're trying to get rid of the private world. All the trends are to get rid of privacy. And I think it is when you actually get to truly feel alone, there's something about your own internal self-expression that becomes more authentic. And guess what? The more authentic you are, the more attractive you are to your mate. But when you don't get to feel that aloneness, then you don't touch that deep internal authenticity. And then that authenticity doesn't transfer in the relational way.
You're listening to Natural AF, the podcast exposing suppressed truths about health, reality, and human potential. I'm your host, Isaac. I'm the founder of Natural Art Form, and I'm joined by my wife and co-host, Alexa, a Site K facilitator and human design coach. Together, we explore a wide range of topics that encourage others to be bold and embody who they truly are, while staying grounded in our lives, relationships, and deepest purpose. We bring some pretty unconventional perspectives and solutions to the table, so if you're ready to challenge the status quo and have a few laughs along the way, you're in the right place. Thanks for joining us. Let's get Natural AF. All right, well, welcome back to Natural AF, everybody. We got the legendary Topher Gardner here. Christopher Gardner, welcome to the show. It's been a while since I've last seen you at Bearfest. I think it was the last time.
Yes, it has been a while. It's good to be here with you both.
Oh, so excited to have you on. We were just mentioning that we tried, probably about a year or so ago, and it didn't happen, and then we both kind of forgot about it. And it was great because you were on Alex Zech's podcast recently, so it was I actually listened to that one, and because I've listened to so many different interviews that you've done with different people, and I've heard you speak on so many different things. So we know that this conversation really could go anywhere. But yes, we really want to introduce you to our audience. For anyone that doesn't know you already, can you share a bit about, you've had quite a vast life experience, I would say. Like, can you share a bit about your sort of journey about, like growing up and some of the things that different experiences that you've had throughout life and sort of what's gotten you to where you are today?
Sure. I'm originally from South Florida, from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I was born and raised there to about age 18. I got into athletics at a pretty young age, and I was able to get a scholarship to go to school. So I went to Michigan State University. I was a 4-year letterman there. Did well enough to get scouted and went to the NFL for a year, and then played in the Arena Football League for 2 years and the USFL for 1 year. So I kind of got some pro sports experience, but in that world, I was more into my healing journey, if that makes any sense. Like, what made me so good of being an athlete was the fact that I had to hit something as hard as I could 150 times a day. And that was because my childhood, I had lots of things that would, cause, people would call it trauma or whatever. I got to have a cathartic release in the sports that I played. And so as I was leaving college and then starting into the pro side of things, I got exposed to really good body work. I got exposed to incredible, like just the best different modalities for healing your body naturally as possible. So I got into teaching hot yoga. After my football career was done, I taught yoga for 10 years, and that kind of took me into the new age world, which was really fun for me because it kind of had me break away from a lot of the conditioning I was exposed to as a child. My parent, it was necessary. Let's just say that. And I had it.
Were your parents religious?
No, they were very Protestant.
Right. Okay.
And what I mean by that, it was like, Christmas and Easter, we'd go to church, but they were Protestant know-it-alls, which kind of made me resistant. But I had a saved experience in college. Like I devoted my life to Jesus Christ, and I had the full, presence of the Holy Spirit. But the problem with that was the church I was a part of was kind of posing. Like, as you guys, because you've like listened to me and on quite a few interviews, I kind of go deep into the things that I'm into. And
Yeah.
when people don't match those standards, uh, I get really dejected and pissed off. I could be, especially back then, I could be really critical. So my pastor asked me to leave my church because I was asking questions he couldn't answer, yada, yada. So, of course, I went to the Far East and taught yoga and learned Vedanta Advaita. Like, I'm just that type of personality.
Just real quick, what's Vedanta Vita? Because I've heard you mention something like that.
That's the Sanskrit for the path of non-duality. So it's the core essence of all Eastern philosophy, which in a way I don't really agree with at all. And, we could get into a philosophical discussion, but the easiest way to think of it is Eastern religion. The core of most Eastern thought is so that you dissolve and you become like a nondescript entity within they call it the impersonal, like impersonal, the impersonal, being. And I got to live that life for, I'd say a good 15 years until I fully saw its folly. And I got to live in countries where that was like the core essence of what they taught, and those countries were horrible. And so on every, like, they were horrible in the sense that people were very dehumanized. I just saw everywhere where that was a core principle, to the white North American wealthy person. It was like this fun thing to explore, but when you actually saw it in practice over generations and generations and generations, it was just like a very weird extension of communism. So I didn't agree with it, and I got back to my Christian roots about in my late 30s, mainly because I was having a bunch of supernatural experiences, and where I was living in Costa Rica, and I was mainly having a bunch of supernatural experiences because I had delved so deeply into the Eastern thought perspective. In a very weird way, I had become a channel. I had become all these things that kind of dissolved a lot of the boundaries, a lot of the natural, physical, and spiritual boundaries that a person is supposed to have. And so my venturing back into the more Western mind, I found Christianity again, mainly through Michael Heiser. And I had been reading, I got gifted one of his books, and I read it, and it blew my mind because he was answering all the questions that my pastor couldn't answer back when I was in college. And he kind of gave the supernatural imprint to Christianity that I had lived in my life, but no church would ever talk about, at least no church that I was a part of. And so I got really excited about that. And then in my own personal practice of doing body work and working on people, and then I eventually got into building for other people professionally. I ended up encountering so many times, like I had a bunch of experiences where I needed the protection of Jesus Christ. I needed the protection of the Holy Spirit, and it came through like in spades. And to me, because I'm somewhat of a scientific mind, I was like, how can this work? Because I wouldn't say I'm a Bible thumper. I'm not like some, faith-based. I've only considered this. Like, I've actually considered a lot. But yet I use this word because there is no atheist in a foxhole, and I was in a foxhole a couple times, and I was just like, I just went to a default, like I went to that, and it like worked amazingly. And I was like, there has to be something to this. So that kind of sponsored my curiosity of going deeper and deeper into alternative history, because when you look at like calendrics and things like that, like how calendar systems are based, then you get into how history was rewritten, how we're not in the time that they say we are. You get into all the things, and then like my studies in construction of building with domes and geopolymers and things like that, it just paints this picture that, you know, I know you asked me about me, but and I'm getting into this like much bigger cosmological thing, but the what I was really finding out in my journey was like, okay, so many of the things I had instincts about as a child were true. I was being convinced that I was either stupid or I was anti-systemic, so I needed to quell that curiosity. And then I've come to find most everything that I knew instinctually and everything that I was interested in at a very deep level has turned out to be this whole other thing, 180 degrees from what the mainstream has taught. So the best way I could describe who I am is just somebody that is earnestly trying to find the truth of what's going on, and not just find it philosophically, but like actually apply, like it's an applied science type of thing. Because I do build with these things. I do have companies that like make products that are based on the true principles that I've found in this journey for truth.
Sounds awesome. Sounds like you're exactly the right kind of guy to have on the show.
Oh, totally.
When I first started this, it was after my own short, like, well, the initiation part of my, like some deeper healing. But I did this epic breathwork session, first time ever, with Eric Casano out in California at the Music and Sky Festival, and had a profound experience and had this inspiration for like the podcast, but also I was starting my business at the time. But the big thing was I was like, this is so, I'm from Wyoming, grew up on a farm, riding horses, shooting guns, joined the military, jumped out of planes, like just lived hard, worked in the oil field, taught myself construction, you know, renovated a house, did all this stuff. And then I'm in California, which is not anybody, like most people you ask in Wyoming, if they grew up there, they're like, California, like where all the gays are, like, is that right? Like they're not going there to do breath work.
Right.
And I show up and I'm doing this and I'm like, this is actually really useful. And the stuff about the body work, I got into doing that on me. Yerasimos, I don't know if you know Yerasimos.
Yeah.
From yeah. So he did his magic stuff, man. It was intense for like 5 days. And all that stuff about like Carl Jung and the subconscious, bringing it conscious so you don't repeat cycles, and like really, really got into that. And I was like, I want to find a way to bring this information, useful parts of it, if possible. I don't know if people like me are listening to this show, but to like former like blue collar guys or military or people that have a lot of energy, who are, especially with the military, are exploited for their loyalty and their focus, and they're willing to do the hard shit, and give them back some of their power and focus it on developing themselves and creating beauty in the world. So yeah. And your path, I think, speaks to how that, because same thing, like you're, you know, doing football, doing sports, like jock, and then deep into the spiritual stuff and found tangible stuff to actually do and use and practice and put out in the world. So,
well, and just listening to you, Topher, like, I'm just like, love it. Like, this is why we love you, because, and I think so many people listening can relate to some part of your journey, because I think anyone that's on this path has found that. Like, I can certainly relate to when you said like you found like, you know, where you are now and like throughout your journey, like where you found that things that you intuitively felt as a child, you found them to be true. I've had that same experience where like I remember in school learning about the globe model and thinking, that just doesn't sound right. Like, I'm not claiming to know the shape of the earth, but it doesn't feel right. It never felt right to me. And I couldn't, now mind you, I became someone who, like, I remember just like maybe 5 or 6 years ago arguing with my friend going, the earth's not flat, and there aren't aliens and like all this stuff. But like, and now I'm just like, oh, I don't know. Like, how can I even claim to know that?
You don't know. You don't, what was that word you said? You don't know? Sorry, I had to do that. I had to do that.
You had to, yeah. It's all right. You get one. You get one for the whole episode, Topher.
Perfect.
But yeah, but I think that's what it is. I think this journey really is all about coming back to ourselves, and it's all about shedding all of the conditioning that we've received through, childhood, through our families, through the schooling system, through society, like all of these things that get attached to us that aren't us. And, I love that you've had that experience going deep into sort of the new age spirituality thing. And you've come out of it and been like, well, what can I actually practically apply to life? Because I think so many people get stuck to that point specifically. And I'd love to hear you speak more to this because, this whole idea of oneness and we're all one, and you've actually experienced where people fully believe that and give away their, power and their individuality, how it's quite detrimental. Because Isaac always, we had this conversation recently. Actually, we've spoken about it a few times on the podcast where Isaac's like, I don't like this we're all one stuff. And I'm like, well, there's oneness that is carried throughout all of us just by way of where we come from, but we're all individuals. We're like nodes in a network. But yeah, I'd love for you to speak more to that. And also if you also experience these people in these spiritual communities that, because in my experience, the people that, outwardly present themselves to be very spiritual and do all the things, they're some of the worst people I know, honestly. They just don't practice what they preach. And it's that whole thing, what you're saying, they don't actually put it into practice in their everyday life.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll have the zealots, and they're usually really fresh to whatever they're believing. So they have that, Victor Schauberger would say they have the adolescent phase of being this hyper energy, but that hyper energy can be very destructive. And I was that. I have to admit, I was a zealot for Vedanta Advaita when I was in my mid-20s. But I learned just through observance that what occurs in that, when you're trying to dissolve the ego, or you're trying to get into the big self and not the little self, whatever terminology you're using, you're essentially breaking boundaries. You're dissolving boundaries. And what I saw was a very destructive element, whether it was the culture that I was in, whether it was the new age, circuit that I saw very, very intensely for 10 years, or whether it was living in an area that was mainly Hindu in southern India. When you don't have boundaries, things go bad fast. And there's no real defense mechanisms. And so it was really kind of odd. I was still somewhat in the Vedanta Advaita world when I moved to Costa Rica. We were going to build an ashram down there, and then it dissolved within 6 months. So many things happened. The guru had a complete and utter psychotic break. And
wow.
It was horrible. And what occurred for me was I saw the complete A to Z movement from somebody that had complete distinction and boundaries to somebody that had no boundaries, and essentially went schizophrenic. And not the good schizophrenic, not this, not the schizophrenic that's going to help you, a schizophrenic that was, he admitted he was totally run by demons. And I got to watch the entire process as an observer.
Wow.
And it was all this whole thing with the Vedanta Advaita is that whatever your internal, whatever you're actually processing, and you always get into this solipsistic loop of who is thinking this, who is feeling this, who is doing that, and then you ask, who am I? Well, what that inadvertently does is it takes your attention away from its full spectrum of being aware of its periphery and its internal aspect, and it makes it solely internal. So you end up in this solipsistic loop where you think you're God. you get to this thing where it's all I. And that breaks a person down to where they have no boundaries. And so it was very odd for me because I was watching the progression in my own consciousness for years. I was like, oh, I got really good at channeling. I got really good at doing all these things that were giving me egoic validation. But was I getting better as a being? No, I wasn't. I was not getting better as a being. And when the ashram was starting to dissolve, the guru tried to make me the guru. And I was like, I'm not enlightened. Like, I know I'm not enlightened. Like, I know I have a lot of work to do. And so I the ashram started to dissolve as soon as I got to Costa Rica. And then one of my massage clients saw some of my drawings that I'd done for a dome home for my wife and I. And he's like, that's exactly what I want. And I'm like, great. If you want me to build that, you have to send me to school because I don't know how to build it. And he's like, okay. And he did. Like, he sent me to school. I learned how to build with that process. And then I built him that home. And it was so cool because my my dome building mentor, my first one, he was an Iranian man, and he got me into reading Rumi and all these things. And what was so beautiful about the culture that he was exposing me to was that they had this saying, you know, we have the saying in the United States, good fences make good neighbors. Well, in Persia, they had a saying that was very similar to that, like, good walls make an excellent courtyard. And like the courtyard is where the family held its feast. It was like that, this is the way. And I was just like, I was in love with this, and it was all about boundaries. And like, when you establish a good boundary, people know exactly where you stand and where they stand. And in a way, it allows people to relax because there's not this semi permeability thing where, you know, you don't know where you begin and they end, and vice versa, and agreements are very, very clear. And I just saw the beauty in it. And then when I started getting back into Michael Heiser, it was just so brilliant because that, like, the Christian ethos, which is monotheism, it's not monism. It was like no, God created you. You're a created entity. He wants to have an individual relationship with you as your specific being. That's the exact opposite of monism, where the individuality of what you are is null and void. You should wipe that away, and you should just become a communistic cog that just runs in a machine, and you do what we say because your life doesn't matter anyway. Like, they couldn't be further away from each other. And so what I was seeing in my community that I lived in, where, you know, essentially the new age belief system was like running the show, all relationships were ending, things were a mess, people were trying every witch's brew that you could imagine, and they would be doing it for years and years and years, and nobody's getting better. I mean, I watched it for 10 years. Like, you know, I was like in it, and I was like, cool. And like, this person's life is a wreck. This person's life is a wreck. Long-term benefits, maybe. I just saw the people that had internal discipline and had a love for God and a jurisdiction for God anyway, their life is going to be good. The people that were externalizing authority into something else, the people that were always like trying to act, as you put it, as, you know, hyper spiritual or whatever, their lives turned to shit. So, or there was like, they would be run by, you know, all different types of other energies, right? So,
yeah.
And then all the years of doing body work that I was doing, it was just like, I really had like this incredible test sample of seeing, because I worked so many retreats. Like, I probably worked 10 to 12 retreats a year, along with my private what we call it, my private client list. And my goodness, like
Yeah,
I
you must have seen some shit.
it was just so apparent. If you externalize authority, no matter who you are, no matter what genetics you've been given, no matter where you are in the economic train, if you're externalizing authority, you're going to be run through the meat grinder. If you're internalizing authority and you've determined your jurisdiction with your creator, yeah, you're going to go through some stuff, but man, you have this Holy Spirit. You have this like this incredible you literally have like the most loving parental I'm just simplifying the statement, but you have the most loving and understanding parental energy that's just helping you achieve your pinnacle, helping you get to your best expression that you could be, which is individuated, which does have boundaries. So
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, so that's what I've seen.
I love that.
Mm.
No, that's really good. I'm glad you said that. It's that'll settle a lot of arguments in the future. No, I'm just kidding. No, I get.
Clarify. I would argue to say we're all one, but I understand. Yeah, like because what you're talking about, Topher, is the extreme of that, where everyone's like, we're all one.
Yeah,
we
no
have no
boundaries.
individuality. We have no like we
But
can't
we're not all
express our
one.
individuality.
So this is the thing, and I've had this philosophical conversation now for 25 years of my life. At the point where we are all one, we're not in physical existence.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
As you and I are speaking right now, that is an absolute lie of a statement,
Yeah.
because we are not one.
Yeah.
You are individuated. Like I actually think God made the earth so that we can experience boundaries.
Yeah.
And I think the inversion that has been put out there, I'm pretty certain about it. I shouldn't even say I think. The inversion that's been created is, oh, we're going to lie about the end of the race where the body, you post haste, you post body, you post like your re-entrance into God's one. So where I go with people that want to make these, assertions that like they're here because of their soul contracts and they made the choice and all this, I'm like, okay, first of all, you don't have all the information. Second of all, you don't know what's best for you. God knows what's best for you. There's none of us that know what's best for us. We think we know what's best for us, but if we're absolutely honest, to the one of us, surprises rule our life. It's always the thing you didn't see coming that has the biggest impact on your everyday mundane thing. So you don't know everything, and surprises rule your life. Well, guess what, y'all? That means you have to humble yourself to God. Because if you don't have all the information, like how many new agers did I meet in my life that were like, oh, I was going to meet Theo then, and we were going to have 9 years of a monogamous relationship. And then we were going to, consciously break up and with our moon child. No, shut up. You're just justifying.
Yeah.
It's a justification. That is not true. You don't know what's happening. And the people that think that they know, they're lying. They're lying to themselves, and they're creating a justification loop. And it was the same thing that I saw in the deepest, quote unquote, spiritual people in Vedanta Advaita. They would always create a circular logic loop where they could reprove something that nobody else could ever argue about. Nobody else could ever challenge them about because it was an internal thing. Get out of here. Incorrect. Surprises, the outlier events of our life really shape where we're at. None of us saw, COVID happening. None of us saw 9/11 happening. Even if you had intel that stuff was going to happen, you had no idea how that was going to shape your life. None of us did. And
Yeah,
how many clients have I seen where there was a surprise pregnancy or a surprise death or an inheritance or like all these different things? Like, let's be honest. Let go of the reins a little bit and just be honest and look at life. Life is molding you. You're not molding life. God has the reins in this. And like, geez, the arrogance that the new age crowd has on things, like at least the new age crowd that I was exposed to in South Florida and Costa Rica was just like, everybody was posturing. I mean, it was all a posture. It was like, oh, look at me and my, oh gosh, like.
I know, we live in it, man. We were up in the Byron region, and it's very interesting. It's a lot of that is exemplified,
Yeah.
and you've got the spectrum of other things going on, including like I mean, the entity stuff. It's very magical though. But I'm like, yeah, I see what you're saying. What do you think about the co-creation idea, manifesting and all that? Like, to what extent is it real, and to what extent is it like us trying to blow ourselves up?
Well, certain people there is co-creation, but there's different amplitudes. So I love the movie The Nines. I always recommend it to people. It's sort of a campy B movie. It's a Ryan Reynolds movie, like from 20 years ago.
Is it called The Nines?
The Nines, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I have to watch that one.
And the whole premise of the movie is your nines really like kind of mold things. Your eights can kind of mold their environment. The sevens, here and there, and sixes, not really at all, right? And that's
a really good example.
And that's been a real, like, I've seen that in life. Like I know people have different capability. It's just like, there's different physiologies. It's the same thing in the spirit world. Like there's just different capacities. We're not all wired the same. And that's why when you get into monistic thought, you get people making huge generalizations and assertions like, oh, everybody can astral travel. Oh, everybody can do this. And it's utterly false. We are all so unique and specific. That's why I got into astrology, like real astrology, not mundane astrology, not tropical astrology, but like the real thing. Because when you see the specificity of things, yes, some people can mold their environment at certain times in their life. At other times they can't. And some people have greater capacities during greater, durations. But like I'm a pretty big stickler on trying to like be very particular with making descriptions, because there is no like general swath, because you'll have people. I've known a lot of people in my life now for over 30 years, and they'll have runs in their life where they really have that quote unquote capacity to co-create or manifest. And then they lose it. They lose their mojo. And inevitably you look at their astrology and it's like, oh, well, this particular transit now is out of your life. And now you can't do that. Now it's time.
I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like our physiology. Like you'll have our physiological cycles are the same way, For 25 years of your life, you can run 5 miles and not die. And then after that, you can't. Like we go through cycles. And so it's one of those things. And any creative person will tell you that. Any person that is, kind of tapped into like extra information, they'll tell you sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not. So,
yeah, I can definitely relate to that because, and I love what you said too about this concept of, like the surprise of life, like like the wonder of life and the way that God works. And I spent a lot of my life being very in control of everything. and I had expectations on everything, and this is how it's going to be, and I'm going to make it this way and whatever. And it was horrible. Like, I shared a story about this on the podcast recently, and it was like one of the worst holidays I ever had, because I was like, no, I'm going. I was getting every sign from the universe saying like, don't go on this trip. And I was like, no, I'm going. And it was like the worst trip ever. And that was a huge lesson for me to learn that, where I was just like, I got to like let go a bit. And it's like, as you were speaking about that, it's like, for me, it's the surrender. It's that surrender to God. It's the surrender to universe. It's surrender to receive what is meant for you, instead of trying to force it, or like you said, like thinking, you know, the best thing for you. And I think that's a big part of manifestation too, is like, yes, you kind of got to focus on what you want, but I would argue that the biggest part about it is letting it go, it go, and allowing yourself to be surprised with what comes back and the way it shows up in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what we're trying to teach our daughter, is to have more of a process orientation than a results orientation. So like, that's something like, enjoy practice. Like enjoy the little things, and enjoy the journey. You know, the destination is sort of anticlimactic with everything. Like what, and I point that out to so many of my clients, is just like, yeah, everything I've strategized for, I have to admit, I've gotten. And it's kind of gay. It's kind of like, oh, so what? But all the things I never saw coming are amazing.
Yeah.
And my life is like better for it. And I could never have guessed it. Like I just did an interview before this one, and it was just like, if you would have told me 10 years ago I'd be living in southern Missouri, I would have laughed you out of the room. I would have said, you're nuts. I don't know how that all happens. But now I'm living my best life here, and it just like, God's like, here, go there. That's what you have to do now. Go. Where I'll be in 10 years, I would love to be here, but I'm now have enough, like, you know, miles on the odometer to know, like, I'm not even going to try and predict what's going to happen. I'm just going to enjoy I'm going to enjoy the process. I'm going to really just ride the wave and just see where it takes me.
Yeah.
That's so funny. That's just like,
I think it's the best way to live life too. Because again, being on the other side of like not living like that and like living like that now, it's like, it's so much more enjoyable. And I think, you know, even when you have, like, it's funny because, you know, when I met Isaac and, you know, we're now married, like so many of my friends said, oh my God, you got the American man you always wanted. And I'm like, I forgot that I even used to say that like all the time. Like, I want an American man. And so I was like, even like, yeah, I wanted it, but like I actually forgot. And that's where the magic is. It's like, I forgot that I even wanted that. And it's exactly what came and what was meant for me. And yeah, there's so much more fulfillment that comes out of that.
Yes.
Yeah. I was just thinking how funny it is. Like, well, ending up here in Australia, it's so different. Like, I'm a big fan of guns. And like, I used to joke, well, especially I heard about you talking to Owen about meditation and how men should meditate like by working. And I used to joke, like when I would go and train pistols and rifles, I would be by myself totally, but it was like my meditation. I'd be out there for hours shooting one shot at a time, being aware of every sensation of the rifle or the gun, the squeeze, the breath, all this stuff, totally mind, body, spirit connection to the point where I could even a couple times, not very often, could hit something like keyhole a bullet shot, like put one bullet into a hole, send another bullet right through the hole without looking so much at it, but feeling it. That happened awesome. A couple times.
That's awesome.
And I was like, that is next level. And then I'm just like, you know, everything else is like just a crapshoot. It's like,
I was gonna say, and then you try and do it again and you can't.
No. Yeah, exactly. When you're trying to do it, but it's just these little surprises. Like, you're right. And it's like, I didn't go from there being like, I am now a Jedi. I can shoot with my mind. It's not like that. I'm just like, what the fuck happened? And then life gives you these other surprises. And then all of a sudden I'm in Australia, no guns allowed. Can't even buy a slingshot.
Oh my God.
You can't buy a slingshot without a license.
That hurts.
I didn't even know that was a thing until Isaac moved here.
That hurts.
But I'm just like, I'm living my best life, but I'm like, it's very different from some of my values. But I'm like, if again, I don't think I exactly manifested this, but I did write down some specific details about the kind of woman I wanted in my life and the kind of landscape and terrain that I wanted to quote unquote retire in. And this is exactly it. Like it's a forest near the beach. I don't think I put down an Australian woman, but she definitely, ticks a lot of the boxes. But so as far as like asking God and asking, some people say asking the universe, I think it's important to specify who in the universe you're asking, and then letting go and then seeing if you get that. It's like, yeah. The whole Santa Claus thing wasn't entirely a lie. It was just, like the Christmas list.
And I've done that. Like I've done like whatever they call those manifestation boards. We didn't call it that when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. And like I remember I was 13 years old and I read this popular science magazine about the Porsche 959, and that was the fastest car in the world. And this article broke down all the ways that it could go 220 miles per hour. And it was just, it was the pinnacle of technology. And I loved it. I was like, and so I put it on this board and I had all these other things. I just happened to go to this prep school where this really beautiful blonde girl from South Africa ends up going to this prep school that I'm at. Well, her father and her grandfather invented the creepy crawly pool system that cleans pools. So they were mega wealthy. And so I liked this girl, I was of that age. I was really like, starting to put my best foot forward. And I would walk her out to her dad's car every time, it was the end of school. And he just always happened to have these really killer cars. He'd pull up and like, the newest Mercedes or the newest Alfa Romeo and stuff like that. And so I would talk to him about his cars, and he really appreciated the fact that I was a gentleman with his daughter and I loved cars. Would you not know that that man was the first man to import a Porsche 959 into the United States illegally? He brought it in on a container. He bought it, had it shipped to South Africa, and then in a South African container, he had it shipped to South Florida with all of his creepy crawly pool systems. He was driving it around in South Florida without a license. It took him like a year and a half to get like all the import duties and get it legal. But what are the chances of little 13-year-old me in the entire world getting to sit in a Porsche 959, the only one in the United States, via a South African that I was badgering him about his daughter, Vanessa?
That's so wild, man.
And then he took me because I knew more about the car than he did. And I was like, oh my God. And I was like, duh. And I was like, the StabiliTrak 4-wheel drive, da, da, da. And I was just like, and he loved the fact that I loved the car so much. He took me to, I think it was Homestead, it was the Homestead racetrack. And so I think I had just turned 14. It was at near the end of my 8th grade year. And he took me I got to go 180 miles per hour in a Porsche 959 as a 14-year-old.
That's awesome.
Well, it's because I really believe this is like God gave me all my joy for engineering. God's the one that like gave me the attributes that I have. If you're really going to be analytical about it, I didn't choose to be like a 5'9" white guy in South Florida. I didn't choose like these things were occurring. I was exposed to what I was exposed to. I had some genetic predispositions. I had a lot of epigenetic conditioning. And like, it's like, here you go. And so like but what was sincere was how much love I felt for that car, which made me resonant with it. And that is something I know is like when you, it's just like a tuning fork. If you tune into the essence of something and you are like totally from an energetic perspective in tune and resonant with it, given any period of time, you have to, the two will come together. That's just the way this hologram works. And so I loved the 959. I read everything I could on it, and you know, did I make that within me? No, but my love for it was earnest. And so when you wrote down, Isaac, like what you wanted, your love for it was earnest and it made you resonate with it, right? So you didn't create it. It just made it within your experiential realm.
Yeah,
Tuning forks, ding.
exactly. And when I was ready for it too, because there was a path between then and now. And yeah, like it was bumpy, but it was also like God was like, all right. And you can look at the astrology as well with it, but like it's like time's catching up, like you need to shift into this next phase of your life. And we've got some things to dust off before you get you there. So crash course this year is going to be a hard one.
Yeah.
And then I went through like at the beginning of 2023, that's when I put down my mom's horse, really my oldest brother's horse. He won her in a some kind of 4-H competition or something, like a raffle or something. He won this amazing Arabian like mare, and she gave birth to another horse that we had for a while, and she was with us 33 years. I put her down when she was 33 years old.
Wow.
Like human years. I don't know how many horse years that is, like 90. Mm-hmm. And then from there it was like the death of something, the beginning of something else, and then I don't know. When I mention that around certain people, they can still see the horse with me. Like the spirit and I are connected somehow. It's like,
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
But the point you just made about when it's showing up when you're ready, I think that's the biggest thing. And that's in the letting go, right? Because perfect example of that. Like, so since Isaac and I met, like he knew, the online community group that we met on, like I think my introductory message was like, I'm ready to meet a man and have babies. Like I was putting it all out there. And so, he knew from very early on, and we've always wanted to have kids together. And, I always thought that was going to happen before we got married. And I was so attached to it. But for the first couple of years that we were together and just like really wanted to get pregnant, I really would just want to have a baby, and it wasn't happening. And I'd be so disappointed like all the time about it. And it's only been in the last probably 6 months that I've been like, are we actually ready? Like if I actually sit and think like, am I actually ready for this? I'm like, no, the answer is actually no. And now I'm actually very grateful that it hasn't happened up until this point. And again, it's coming into that. And then since sort of coming to that realization, but also just coming more into the trust that I know it's going to happen for me. I have that knowing within me. There's no doubt in my mind, like, can I have kids? Is it going to have, it's like, there's none of that. And it's just coming into that full trust of the divine that it's going to happen, and it's going to happen at the right time. And that'll be like, I don't know when that's going to be, but I know it will be at the right time.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful space to be in.
Yeah.
It's fun when you get these glimpses of that clarity. And sometimes like I feel like you're pretty solid in that. Like it's pretty consistent. You don't have these ups and downs. And sometimes people can have these ups and downs of like, oh, I feel like I'm on purpose, especially as men. I feel like connecting to your purpose is super critical. And having some directed thing, but also being able to let go and allow the magic to happen. But if somebody feels like they're up and down, like I believe and I doubt and I believe and I doubt, what are some things that you find helpful to kind of relax, let go, and then come back to center?
Always motion for me. So much of my mental instability when it does show up is just from excess mind energy. So I find exercising, like getting out in the yard, getting in nature. My particular astrology is such that like when I get into nature, if I spend any time in nature, I get charged up and clear-headed. So I'm trying to be outside as much as possible, even in wintertime here. When it gets cold, I still find myself, venturing outside and wanting to be in that So that's just me personally. I know everybody has different things, but usually if I'm overrun and preoccupied, I know it's because I haven't exhausted my physical self. You know, I have so many irons in the fire that it's very essential that I take the time to actually work my body enough where my mind isn't overactive.
Yeah, I find that too. I have very strong mental energy. Also, that shows up in my astrology a lot. And yeah, I
Yes.
find that too. It's so important. I think it's pretty universal across most people. Like, it's so important that we do move our bodies. We're designed, our bodies are designed to move. And I think when we become too sedentary, too up in the mind, all of that stuff, it can kind of lead to a lot of we just come out of balance. But there's actually so many places I want to go from here. But just to that point, because Isaac brought up, for men, because we've actually got an episode coming up on this, and I was like, I'd really love to get Topher's perspective on this. So we were talking about, for Isaac, being very masculine man, he's like, I need, like, he kind of needs, like, how would you explain, like, this drive that when things get really hard, where you're just like, that's the fire I need to, like, get me going and, like, and I'm the total opposite. I'm like, and again, I feel like it's more of that feminine energy where for me I feel like, achieve or work towards the things that I want, I don't thrive on that pressure of things being, like, way too hard. Do you know what I mean? And so, yeah.
For me, it's like that joke where it's like you're lifting heavy weights, and inside your mind, it's like, if I don't lift this, my family will all die. It's like, that's enough motivation. Yes. There we go.
Yeah, and I'm like the total opposite.
Yes.
So I'd love to get your perspective on this, because obviously you work with polarity therapy. Like, yeah, how do you say that play out differently in men and women in the way they work towards things?
Well, we are different species.
Oh, that explains a lot.
Like we really are.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I know we're like human, but we're different species because in polarity therapy, like you're saying, you feel okay when things are the path is a little bit easier. And that's because you're constantly in receivership. As the negative pole, especially as a woman that wants to have a family and wants to reproduce, your energetic body is taking in the environment and it's bringing it in. So you have to be much more selective of where you're going to give your energy, because you're like a sea sponge right now. And whatever water the sea sponge goes in, that's what they are, right? And that is the negative polarity. We call it of the estrogen bloom woman, the woman that wants children, that wants to expand, in that way. So you're always receiving. So it's actually very intelligent. It's your body's intelligence that is informing your mind. No. Nothing too hard. The man on the other side is the champion. You're like the damsel in distress. You're like the wife that needs to, like, house the child. And then you have the champion on the other side that's like, I will kill the dragon. I will do this. I will do that. Because in that it's the full expression of everything that is the positive polarity, which is the protector, the provider. I will go and, trample all my enemies. Like, that is the positive polarity, because it's pushing out. It's creating a big enough boundary around you so you're protected and safe. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
That's the difference. But that's the difference between the positive and the negative polarity. That's why I'm very big into, like, couples not spending that much time with each other. Like, you always had the honeymoon phase and the getting to know you phase and stuff like that. But, like, contact during the day should be few and far between, because that polarity, because we are different species, you want to maintain that polarity, because if there's that polarity, then there's the attraction. It's just like, what we've all learned with magnets and batteries is just like, you can't always have they neutralize each other if they're always touching. You see what I'm saying? So you create, a little distance, and the heart does grow fonder. It does keep, in a way, it's just keeping that polarity charged. I've seen it like so many throughout the years of working on couples that work together all day, and they're always around each other and all of that. The polarity between the two beings, especially during the reproductive, phase of relationship, I don't think it's the way I don't think it's the healthiest way of doing things.
Well, we've experienced that because we work together, we do the podcast together, we do a lot together. And yeah, I think when we were doing, and we live in quite a small little home as well. So I think, yeah, we went through this phase where like, yeah, things weren't great. And I think, look, just from a very generalist, like even just like anyone, even like males or like anyone being around anyone for too long, it's just like you're going to start grating on each other.
But when a man's so like it's zeta potential. When men are around men, because of the same polarity, they'll push against each other.
Yeah, right.
When you have man and woman around each other, your physiology is always trying to come to neutral.
Yeah, right.
So girls hanging out with other girls, solidarity, great. You all are going to keep that negative potential. Men around men, great. Solidarity, zeta potential. Men and women coming together, it's great, but it should be in like these little increments.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it. With men, they'll become a bit more passive. They're not out like, checking the perimeter, keeping an eye on stuff, fixing stuff before it needs to be, before the roof rots off, they're out there fixing it, painting it, whatever.
Yeah.
But if they're just in the house too much, where it's comfortable and safe and all that, we can kind of just become lackadaisical and sloppy.
Yeah, well, and I'm just talking just on a personality level though, because even like, yeah, my girlfriends and stuff love girl time, but like if I'm with the same person all the time, I'm just gonna get sick of them. But like I found that with I found that with us, like when we actually noticed that, like we're, obviously we work together, we do so many things together, and we had to create more separation where Isaac will go do the gym for a couple of hours, or he'll just go out and do yard work, and like we definitely get along better. Like things are much better between us when we actually do make time to go and do things on our own or with other people. And also why I find this super interesting, Topher, is because so I work with human design, and that's something that comes up. And really like the first time I was really ever sort of, like kind of recommended to like sleep in a separate bed to my partner, because I'm a projector and Isaac's a manifesting generator. And so they say for non-sacral beings, but especially for
sucking him dry, sucking him dry.
Especially because like projectors' auras are so absorbing. It's very beneficial for them to sleep alone, to sort of just be in their own energy. But they say with any type in human design, so this is from, now we're talking like an energetic sort of the aura, the energy of our aura, like from that perspective, even sleeping alone can just be really beneficial to just be in your own energy in that time of like rest and digest and being in your, in your repair sort of mode.
Yeah, I taught because I was dealing with so many relationships and things like that, and still do. Like I've seen so many, this is what with how we started, like where the rubber meets the road with me. So like I taught human design. I know quite a bit about astrology. I got into all that because I was massaging people and inevitably working on their partners with them, and then seeing how the energetics combine and all the rest of it. And man, I got to tell you, I saw in the world of sustainable building, they kept telling people, oh, tiny homes, tiny homes, tiny homes, tiny homes. And I was like, worst idea ever. No.
Why is that?
Because who were they marketing it? Because they were marketing it to people like you. People that want to live off grid, want to live a little bit more simply and everything like that. No, you guys are the ones that actually need more boundaries,
separation,
more walls, to keep your polarity. Everybody I know that lives in a tiny home, they depolarize. You need space, whether we want to believe it or not, as a human body, especially like Isaac, is you like this big strapping Wyoming dude, you as the Australian, outbacker, you need space. You need to and you need to not see somebody, and you need to not hear them. And where you can feel privacy, because the number one attack that the technocrats have on our being is the attack on our privacy. They're trying to get rid of the private world. And I've been aware of this for like 20 years now. In part, and I don't know exactly what it is about privacy. I haven't figured it out. But all the trends are to get rid of privacy. And I think it is when you actually get to truly feel alone, there's something about your own internal self-expression that becomes more authentic. And guess what? The more authentic you are, the more attractive you are to your mate. But when you don't get to feel that aloneness, then you don't touch that deep internal authenticity. And then that authenticity doesn't transfer in the relational way. And guess what? In relationships, flirting is important.
Yeah.
Like all the little things that occur when you like haven't seen the person and all this other stuff, or even having a space that's just your own space. My wife has spaces that I will never enter. And I learned this by mistakes. I used to be the dude that lived in a 400 square foot shed where 150 square feet of that was an outside porch. Like I literally only had 250 square feet inside of a living space with a mate. It lasted 4 years.
Yeah.
Because there was no privacy. None. And I've seen it over and over. I even have friends here in Missouri that they live in very confined spaces. And I'm like, build something else. We don't have the money. Find it.
Yeah.
Like
big time.
Come up with a solution. Because guess what? If you're determined and you're earnest and you do that, you're the tuning fork and boom, it will come. One way or another, it will happen.
Yeah.
But if you're living under the delusion of somebody else's idea for you, oh, tiny homes are great. They're more ecological. Oh, we can do it. We're so in love. Wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Buy two of them.
Yeah, because we're not in a tiny home per se, but we're in a very small home. And I see people buying tiny homes and I'm like, I would never live in one of those. Like I would never live in anything smaller than this, which usually they are.
As you're talking, I'm just like looking around the room. I'm like, fuck. You can't see it from here, but our bed's like right there.
I want to be specific. I want to be specific, though. It's with people that are within the reproductive window. Retirees, people that are empty nesters, it's a totally different thing. It's a totally different energetic body. You're in your third epic. First and second epic, no. You need space. You're in expansion mode. In the expansion mode, expand. It's okay to want square footage.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying be like a dick that buys this massive house and doesn't use half the rooms in it. I'm saying you guys want a family. You're probably talking to lots of people that are young families or wanting to grow families and things like that. Don't fall for this delusional thing about tiny homes.
Yeah.
It's a lie. And by the way, they're not more ecologically responsible.
Yeah.
They're just not. So people can let go of that delusion too.
Yeah. Well, I think a few things I want to go with that, but yeah, like even just with actually, and another amazing episode, I'd love to reach out to her to speak to her directly because Alex Zek had someone on, this was months ago now, on Feng Shui and just like the energetics of your living space and things like that. And just even that, like my biggest thing is because we're kind of like in a studio style living with kind of separate rooms, but the only door we have in the house that separates any rooms is the door to the bathroom. And for me, the biggest issue I have is like my workspace is right next to the living space, which is right next to the bedroom, like the bed where we sleep. And it's like, even just that separation from the different things you do in the day is so important. Like, that's my biggest thing. I'm like, I need an office with a door so that when I leave the office and close the door, I'm done for the day. Like, I'm not working, because what I find now is I'll just work around the clock. Like, especially when you have your own businesses, like you'll just work all the time if you don't create that separation or create those boundaries, as you say.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm so glad that you noticed that, because that's part of my work life too, is, talking to people and designing homes for them and designing spaces and really getting into the nitty-gritty of what their life is and what they're trying to accomplish and things like that, because, I'm a full bespoke designer, right? And so it's like there's so many of those considerations, and a lot of times I'm making the recommendation to really separate the workspace from the recreational space. There's so much intelligence to the way things were done in the past, and especially the way moneyed people did things in the past. And what I mean by that is you look at these homes from, let's just say, the turn of the 20th century, where people had a decent amount of income. Every room had a door. Like, literally every room had a door. Hallways had sliding doors. Like, the cabinetry, everything was closing and out of sight. Like, there were so many of these things that, I understand marketing and like trying to sell new trends so you can sell new stuff and all the rest of it. But then I had this friend that was building in Florida, and I hadn't been exposed to like HGTV or any of these channels, like 15 or 16 years ago. And then I was watching like this channel, and it's just like, why are you renovating your kitchen? Your kitchen is like brand new. And it's because she's watching HGTV, and she's like, oh, well, we should tear down this wall and we should put this up. And she spent like $120,000 for something that was, it was a little bit better, but it wasn't necessary. And I was like, oh, they're just doing this from a marketing perspective. But what did it do? Everything is an open floor plan and everything is this. Horrible idea. Now, anytime the grandkids come over, you can't have 1 second of peace or whatever.
Yeah.
No, the way that's why I constantly tell my audience, I'm like, we're not evolving. Things were better. It's like the money back in the day would build 100-room structure. They weren't building a 10-room structure. They were building these big lavish buildings because it was like, no, this is this space, this is this space, this is this space. And that's actually much healthier, because we were talking about boundaries before. It was like when there's good fences make good neighbors. It's like, oh, I'm only going into the music room when I'm doing music. I'm only going into the dining room to dine. There's an intelligence to that.
Yeah.
Now, I understand the economics of our day and things like that make that a little bit more challenging. And I'm not saying that everybody should live that way. I'm just saying, like, don't believe the hype with the marketing stuff. They would have us all live in sardine cans if the powers that be got their druthers. And you can look at the cultures that truly bought into that. They're disappearing. Like, the Japanese people will be gone in 2 generations, maybe 3.
Yeah, they have the lowest rates of procreation, right, in the world. Is that right?
It's because they're all depolarized, and the men are totally into anime, So you put people in these little 100 square foot, 150 square foot spaces, because of, economic pressures or whatever, and like everybody depolarizes. It's just like, that's not the way. That is not the way.
So I have a question expanding from that, like solutions oriented. And I know you build these amazing domes, and you're doing stuff with electricity and energy, even like putting a metal shape into the structure and grounding it and having, potential energy from the ether coming into it. Is there a way to use that and have a separate space and create something that actually like amplifies your uniqueness as a man in one separate living space, and then do something similar but the opposite polar for the wife?
The first thing you do, Isaac, is you go and pee in all four corners. Just kidding.
You got to get that musk build up.
It all depends on the person, where you are, like where your location is, what your astrocartography is. Like when you really get into Vastu and you get into Feng Shui, there's lots of things that your own like personal signature relative to the signature of your mate, like how things should be positioned. Cool. It gets very specific. Yeah. To answer you, I can't give you specifics because I don't know you guys well enough. But there is ways where you can completely delineate, whose side of the room you're on, that type of thing.
Nice.
And you can't do that in spaces that volumetrically are small. Like you don't need massive spaces for that.
Yeah, I think.
And then also.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
And then also having agreements, like one of the easiest ways to gain space is like, if one of you is a morning person and the other one of you is a evening person, like you're just very clear on it. You're not trying to infringe on that person's privacy time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the other person's like you totally honor that person's physiology and what they need. And there's no resistance, and you're not trying to make them you or you them.
Right.
Yeah.
And you give space that way. That's a huge thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you're in partnerships where people are trying to make like little mini-me's, which is horrible.
Totally. Yeah. And they're very codependent. And it's like, if you don't do this, then I'm upset. And trust me, I live that life too.
Well, and I wanted to point out something for people as well to if there's anyone that's living in what, after hearing that, is like a non-ideal circumstance. So my last marriage, I had a massive house that I was renting in Wyoming. I had a handyman business. I had the whole downstairs to myself. I set up the podcast studio down there. My wife and I at the time had issues, and she was sleeping on a totally separate side of the house. I was sleeping in the master room. She had another room there, like 2 or 3 bedrooms between us. And there was no pulling up that relationship. It was, potentially doomed from the start, but it was, I think, a wake up call for me, and a very clear mirror, which is amazing how relationships do that. They offer you a mirror of yourself, the good and the bad. And I got to see all my bad like amplified, and like was like aghast at like how mean I could be, and how like, how that bitterness back and forth just grew, and caused me to shift. Now, after facing that and doing the work and like continuing it, I'm in a very different situation, much, much healthier relationship, in very close quarters in the non-ideal quote unquote space. So it really depends on like the people who's involved, if you're actually open to owning your shit and not projecting it on the other person, and making the most of it. And then from there, obviously we're open to modifying our living so that we can make a good thing even better.
Yeah. And just to that point, like just finding solutions and seeing what works and what doesn't work. Like you said, Topher, like having agreements. And like I mentioned earlier, like, we found that, we were doing too much together. And I actually said to Isaac, and again, in knowing my projector type, I was like, babe, I really need some more alone time. Like, you need to get out of the house a bit more. Because I can too.
I love when she says that though. I'm like, yes, I'm going to Villiers. I'm going to go build a dome or something.
Hangs out with the guys, or he goes to the gym and he does the things. And like, I'll go out and do things too, but I don't know, again, maybe, and you're right, Topher, like I forget that I am in this nesting phase, and I really love, and I am just a homebody anyway, so I really love being in my home and in my space, and like, Yeah, I kind of feel I'm like, sometimes I'm like, you need to go and do stuff, because like I'll do stuff, but that's not alone time to me. That's like I'm out doing things. And so it's just
The Costa Ricans taught me that so perfectly, because in their culture, especially in the campesino culture of Costa Rica, the women did not, like, if the sunlight was out, the man was not supposed to be in the house.
I like that.
And it did not matter what the weather was. It didn't matter what station in life they were, whether they were the jefe or the peon. It did not matter if there was sun outside. The woman's domain was the house, and the kids. You better be out slaying the dragons, making some money, chopping the fence line, butchering. You were outside as a man, and they did not waver. In fact, they looked down on any man that was inside during the day. And it was awesome, because they were right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's epic.
They were totally right.
Yeah. Yeah, and just and to that, yeah, and it's funny because as you're saying, like, this is Costa Rica. Like, I think it is very much, yeah, there's something with that ancestral memory or what. Like, my mom's Middle Eastern and my dad's Eastern European, and I do have these it's one of the things that Isaac, loves about our family is that we do have these very strong traditions and, yeah, I guess like I don't want to use the word roles, because it's not about like, oh, well, you're a woman and you're meant to do this and you're a man and you're meant to do this. It's just about what we feel very naturally drawn to, because in my family, that's all the women are like that. But we love being that way. We love, cooking and like nurturing and, being that. It's like, to me, that's being in that very feminine energy. And the men are also like that. Like they just love providing and like doing those things. And, I think that's kind of what we've lost too in this modern Western society as well. And all this women can do anything that men can do. And, like, just like shaking his head. Yeah.
Or even like men and women need to work together and everything. It's like, I watched the first episode of Marshalls, and there's like women on this like high elite team and they recruit this Navy SEAL. I'm like, fuck off.
You can see it. You can see it's rated horrible.
Yeah, it sucks.
Because people can feel the lie in it.
100%.
It's just like when, when President Trump got his little ear clipped and he was let into the Jewish priesthood during that assassination attempt. When that happened, what felt so off about it was he had 3 fat women as his bodyguards.
And it should be embarrassing for a president of America to have women bodyguards, not just like, oh, women can't do it. Like, obviously they can't. You put any of those women up against like you or me or Conor McGregor or somebody.
No,
it's not
going to stand a chance. Yeah.
I give this example all the time. Even though I was a really good field goal kicker, I was like an okay soccer player. In my high school soccer team, male soccer team, was like middle, like we were average.
High school.
Our girls soccer team at the same school was a state champion runner up. We played one little dust up with those girls that were the runner up to the state championship, and we waxed them like so hard. It was just like gross. It was like, we're different species.
Yeah.
Like we're just different species. It's not even close. There's not one heterosexual man I know that likes watching women basketball, because no matter how big they are, they're just slow. And it's just slow. It's just like, oh, great.
All right.
Like I, as a 50-year-old man, feel like if I exercise a little bit, I could go play and like beat them. Like, and I'm a 5'9" white guy. Like, we're different species. And and I love women. And I come from a line of women that are very highly educated. I believe in the mental capacity of women, but physiologically, women, your gift is you get to give life.
Yeah. And also plan and organize things.
We're the hunters that are out there that are trying to ensure that you have a safe enough space and you have enough food that you can do that. And that's just the way it is,
Yeah.
folks. You can pretend any other
Yeah.
way. You could pretend it, but it's just pretend.
Yeah.
It's a pretend thing.
Yeah, totally. Totally. And I'm like, obviously, I'm of the generation that was, came up during, I was born early 90s. So it was all Spice Girls and girl power. And like, I was very, very conditioned into that, whatever they call it now, like the neo feminist sort of, ideology.
Fourth wave feminism.
Yeah. Yeah. Like this ideology. And, yeah, it's just so interesting again to have experienced like being on both sides of the fence. And it's like, yeah, I like anyone can do anything that they set their mind to, right? As in like, I've got this goal, I want to do it. You put enough work or effort into it, you can achieve it. Like if you've got the fortitude to do it, like you can do it. But is that, again, going back to that, is that the right thing for you? Is it just because you think it is? It actually is. And, when I lived that life of like, I'm a strong, independent woman, I can do anything. And like, had more of a career at one point and was very successful and like did all those things. When I compare that to how I live now and who I am now, I'm so much more satisfied. I'm so much more fulfilled. I don't feel burnt out all the time and just exhausted all the time because it's exhausting because what often happens is most women are, not homemakers as such, but they have kids, they raise the kids primarily and whatever. But then on top of that, they have a job and they have a career and they're just like doing everything and they're so burnt out. And unfortunately, I would say, and this is very like generalized, but men have also become more feminized, like that, what you're talking about with the polarity becoming neutralized, where men aren't these strong masculine men that are able to support these women. So it's the state of sort of relationships and modern living, as it were, is just an absolute mess now, the way I see it.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be. That's the good thing.
Yeah.
There's this great book that came out the last year. It was written by, I think, a Yale economist or something, and it was called Bullshit Jobs. And the reason why you have all these women that are going into male roles and men going into female roles is it was all designed just for busy work. Business is built on busy work, right? And the majority of jobs that are out there are not necessary. And AI and robotics and all this stuff is going to get rid of all the unnecessary jobs. That's what it's there to do. Like this economist, and I've known this. I knew this since high school, getting an internship with American Express. It was so obvious that the majority of the people that were working at American Express weren't needed. In the 90s.
Wow.
They could have automated all of it. I knew this in 1993. I was like, why do we have people working here making calls when nobody's home? Like, that makes no sense. We should have people here off hours making calls. And like my vice president was like, we know, come on, let me tell you what's going on. Like I was being chosen to be like a VP or a president, being like, look, this is the real deal. This is why we really do stuff. And I was being told this at age 17. The majority of jobs out there are not needed. Like they're not real. And so women have been like through first, second, third, and fourth wave feminism, the first, second, third, and fourth gen feminism gave a sense of confidence to women that they were going to be something and someone out there in the workplace. But the thing that people don't understand is the workplace as we've known it since World War II is a completely artificial environment. It was only set up from a corporate structure perspective to promote needless jobs, things that aren't necessary. And I'm a C.S. Lewis guy. Like he said, there's only one job. That's to be a mother. All other jobs are ancillary to that one. That is the truth. And every heterosexual man that I know that like really, really like is into their woman, the first thing that we ever do when we meet each other is we're talking about how we're going to provide and protect for our woman. That's what we talk about, other than busting each other's balls. The whole thing is like, oh yeah, she needed this, or I need to get this for the kids, or blah 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 blah. And I remember when I first met my wife 10 years ago, I told her that, and she couldn't believe it because she was around a lot of essentially metrosexual men in an environment that was artificial. And I'm like, that those aren't real men. They're in an artificial environment. Real men, and I can show you a bunch of them. This is how we are. We want to provide for you. Because men, given to ourselves, we're so simple. We don't need anything. Literally, all of industry, all of it is because a guy's like, oh, she'll like that. She says she wants that. Oh, and we just do. We just do because that's literally our function.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that from a codependent perspective because I feel zero codependence in it. That's not being like some, pee-whipped guy that's just like, oh, I'm not talking about any of that. I'm just like literally
like a primal function.
Every father I know that, and I know I'm happy to say I'm one of the lucky people where I have a peer group of excellent men in my life. And I've had a peer group of excellent men in my life for 20 years. And they're very consistent. What does my woman need? What does she want? What does the family need? How can I plan to have this happen? And then it's like you, Isaac, where you're like, I want to slay the dragon. I want to do the hardest thing ever so this can happen. Because that's literally built into your manness.
Yeah. It's funny. We had a bonfire before the wedding. We had this big pile of all the palm fronds and everything else we dragged out. And we're sitting around the fire, and Alexa's mom, Nina, is like, we're kind of like pushing stuff into the fire from the edges that didn't quite get burned. And I'm out there with a rake, and Nina's just kind of walking around and pointing at stuff. And I'm just like using my strength and like pushing like big chunks of stuff that needs to burn into the wood, into the fire. And I'm just like, and I totally understand like the purpose, because I can hear Alexa talking to another friend of ours explaining what we're doing and why. It's like, and well, from the perspective of the projector and all that.
Well, that's wonderful that you guys are in human design. I am a egoic manifester.
That's what I was wondering. I was so curious.
What's the egoic part?
Ego, authority.
Ego means my authority comes when I speak to others.
Oh, cool.
That's why I blow up the internet.
Yeah, way too much authority.
Well, ego. Well, yeah. So ego manifested authority. Well, it's also like your decisions come from essentially like your inner desires, right? Like it's you're here to like follow your will, like what you have the will to do. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, I was downline from like Raw's second student.
Oh wow.
So. Yeah, he lived down in Costa Rica, and the first time I had my human design done, he saw, because I had a very similar chart to Ra, and he's like, "You got to teach this!" Like he was going nuts. But what was so beautiful about that was it was the first time I didn't feel guilt, because I had always known that, like, from a will perspective, I like whatever I had earnestly like loved or given my attention to, the thing would happen, and like nearly like impossible things would happen. And I felt guilt about that in the new age world, in that whole community, because there was like all these things about like just a bunch of BS that really is impertinent. And I was just like, when he was explaining to me, is like, no, to be an egoic manifester means like your will is in alignment with the will. And like, because of that, as long as you voice it, as long as you communicate it, it's going to come into play. It's going to happen. And he put me at ease with it. And I was just like, once the second I owned it, I fully owned it and let that happen, you know, my life has pretty much been like pretty much a rocket ship from that point on.
And I'm curious, Topher, so first of all, you're the first person I've ever met that has an ego authority. So I find that fascinating. And obviously manifestors, I've got a couple of manifestor friends, and yeah, very interesting energy. And I'm not surprised at all that you're a manifestor, but I'm curious, so when I've done readings for people before that, don't resonate with some of the qualities of manifestor. And it's also not surprising because I think of all of the types. I mean, we can all be conditioned out of our natural way of being, but especially for manifestors, because you guys are here to literally just like do your own thing. You're not here to ask for permission. It's just like get on board or get out of the way kind of energy. Like, did you ever feel like when you came to that, having your human design reading your chart, like, did you struggle with that growing up at all, where you felt like you were very conditioned out of like just being able to do what you want, especially being with that ego authority, just like really sort of enacting your will and like doing exactly what you want? Or do you feel like you did get a little bit conditioned out of that at any point?
In the new age world, I was being conditioned out of that.
Yeah, of course.
In the new age world, I was like too manly. Like I was just like, I would speak my mind. I was very Rajasic and authoritative, and being like, the ashram I was in, I would disagree with the guru. Like I was just like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, sorry, like you said this, and this is what's happening, and I'm staying true to this, and no, like, But at the same time, when I did believe in something, I would be that like spokesman that could, sell ice to an Eskimo. So it was one of these things where it's just like, it was very evident that, God's grace with me is like, if I believe in something and I voice it and I say it, it will come to pass. If I draw something, it will end up being a 3-dimensional thing around. Like I had a run in Costa Rica where I only did like something like 15 designs. Every single design was built.
Wow.
I know architects have literally done hundreds of drawings and not had one of them built.
Wow.
I had every single thing I ever drew in earnest. Like, and I say in earnest, like I put love, time, attention, and expertise into it, and fully embodied, because I can see things fully in my mind's eye. I can like fully imagine something totally. If I give any given amount of time into doing that, and when you're drawing, you're doing that.
Right.
It just it will happen. Like it does happen.
Yeah,
and
that's
so
amazing.
The egoic manifestor thing made sense of all that.
And
that totally. in a very weird way, that broke me out of the new age world.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is just the way I'm wired. Like there's like this is God's grace. This isn't me. I didn't make me. This is like literally like, this is your signature. This is your authority. Go. I'm like, all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I needed to know.
Yeah. That's what I love about human design. Cause like for the vast majority of people I read for, it's not things that they don't know about themselves already. It just kind of gives them the permission that sometimes they need to just be themselves, or just that like relief of like, oh, this is just who I am. Like I'm not, for me, being a projector, and this is very common for projectors, is like when they, find out their human design, it's like, oh, I'm not meant to keep up with everyone. Like I'm not meant to be, constantly like doing and like have this massive output, and we just like work in a different way. And this is actually a perfect segue into, because I want to speak a bit more about cosmology, because I know this is huge for you. And I actually love before too, even when we were just talking about building spaces and like, the way that things should kind of be set up, like you you said like, I can't really give you an answer because I don't know you guys well enough. And I love that because I'm the same when I work with people. It's like, I can't give, even I studied nutrition first. And when people ask me like nutrition questions, I'm like, I can't give you a blanket answer for everyone. Like it's so unique to each individual. And I think that's where cosmology, I think, is so useful in so many ways as an individual, like for self-discovery and just like your path in life and things like that. And so I want to speak a little bit more about astrology because you said like you don't really do tropical astrology. So what kind of like system do you follow? And I'd love to talk about I know I've heard you speak in the past about like looking at conception charts, like your chart around the time that you were conceived. I find that fascinating. So please tell me more.
Yes. So the best way I do a form of, I guess you would call it, and by the way, I'm going to use a word that doesn't mean I am that. I just want everybody to understand. So I use a form of Rosicrucian true sidereal astrology. Right. So by Rosicrucian, it's just another way of saying alchemical true sidereal astrology. And so what the alchemists figured out, a few hundred years back was what science knows now. You can't separate the experimenter from the experiment. Like, you're the alchemist and then their experimentation had so much to do with the timing of that particular being at that particular time. We had already brought up earlier that we go through phases where we're invincible in one area of life and then it leaves because nothing in this life is like, there's never just a constant growth cycle. There's cycles in life, right? And so the alchemists were very well aware of this. So they tried to time their experiments, the alchemists that could actually do stuff. They tried to time their experiments relative to their chart, and they saw very simply that we have epochs in our life. And the first epoch of our life, which we would call our natal chart, that's when you're under conditioning. That's you when you're a codependent. That's you when you're a child, you're a ward of the state, you're under your parents' rule, you're under education, you're being conditioned by your environment. And then your second epoch of life is reflective of you as an independent entity, you as having your own jurisdiction, you being in your own cut. And so you'll find usually when an adult is in their flow state, they're more representative of their conception chart, which would be the second epoch. Whereas people, when they're more under whatever the energetic pattern is that's reducing them into a dependence pattern or a codependence pattern, they're usually in their natal phase of the charting system. And that's because biologically you're in your mom for 10 months and you're alive. And so all the things that are happening to your mother while you're in her, that's part of your conditioning. And then as you're growing as a little one and all the other things, like you're just naive, you're absorbing, you're learning and all that type of stuff. That's all a conditioning phase. And right around your first Saturn return, which is a 2.5 year transit, depending on who you are, that transit switches you from the dependent being to the independent being. And so when I look at people's charts, a lot of times I'll look at them, I'll show them their natal chart, and I'll be like, this is your conditioning. This is you when you're coming from your conditioning. And then I'll show them their conception chart, and I'll be like, this is you when you're in the flow state. This is you when you are God's pinnacle expression of your optimized being. And so the alchemist saw this is usually in your second epoch from age 30 to 60. You have all your faculties. You have the physical faculties. You have enough time and experience to kind of understand lies, hopefully, and truths. And you have the mental capacity still. You have all those things, right? And so that's the way when I do people's charts, I call them celestic profiles. I don't call it a natal chart because it's specific. Timing is specific. Like there's so many things. You can see there's a theme here. Like there's so many details of how things are going to express and why they're going to express and when they're going to express. And it's been actually, it was like kind of a surprise to me because in all the years of doing body work, I was trained in Ayurvedic massage where they look at your body as the Mazzaroth. So, like, for example, Pisces rules the feet, Aries rules the head, Taurus rules the neck, Gemini rules the shoulders and arms, Cancer rules the chest and breast, like so on and so forth, right? And I switched out of tropical astrology. I call tropical astrology mundane astrology because it's for the masses. It's for people that just want to give a cursory look. Just like anything in life. If you're just giving it a cursory look and you say, I know, you're given the mundane stuff. Right? It's just like, yeah, that's all you deserve because you have no earnestness, right? But after 10 years of massaging people, I'm like, they say their sun sign is Aquarius, but why do they have all these like problems in their knees? Because in Ayurvedic astrology or Ayurvedic massage, whatever the sun is eclipsing, it blocks that energy, that heavenly energy coming, because the sun, the Mazzaroth is the plane ecliptic, and so the sun, as it moves in front of those 13 constellations, it will block that constellation. So in Western astrology, it's like, oh, that's an amplification and ta. And in a way, that's true. But on a secondary aspect, if you were ever driving at night and a policeman shined a flashlight in your face, you couldn't see anything. That light is eclipsing what's behind it.
Yeah.
That's the way the sun works with our body, with our physiology. And so say somebody's an Aquarius in their life, because the sun was eclipsing that energy, a lot of times those people have ankle issues. Capricorns have knee issues. Sagittarians have thigh issues, so on and so forth. I was finding in my practice of massaging people, I was right about like 70% of the time, and that wasn't good enough for me. I was like, and then I was exposed to true sidereal astrology, which to me matched astronomy, because in astronomy, there's 13 constellations. And then I started to look into the archetypes, and I was like, well, there are 13 archetypes, and the signs were originally based on the constellations. Why did they just say, no, the signs aren't connected to the constellations? That makes no sense. Like what changed? Well, now looking into it, can I curse here?
Of course.
I've been doing the whole episode.
When you look into it, all the fuckery with the sky coincides with them messing with the calendar system.
Calendar, yeah. I was gonna ask that. Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my goodness.
Wait, what do you mean by that? Like when there was can we just find a shift when tropical astrology became a thing? Does that coincide with like Gregorian or something, or?
Well, first of all, tropical astrology, like that whole thing, is like, when it comes to like the public at large having any exposure to that, is only like a 150-year-old phenomenon.
Yeah.
Like before that, you're talking about people in royalty. Like you're only talking about very, very people of means. you know, it wasn't like, everyone's like, oh, people knew in their Bible, because the Bible, especially the Old Testament, talks about the Mazzaroth and how, it's written in the stars, like it's there. The story of the Bible is in the stars. And so, and I'm not saying that, like the way I look at that is, yes, like there is a direct correspondence. But then this is where you get into cosmology. This is like the flat earth thing was devastating to so many astrologers. because in their mind's eye, they had been telling themselves stories for so long that there's these planetary bodies that are billions and billions and billions of miles away. And somehow, some way, those physical bodies are physically corresponding to you in this way or that way. Utter BS.
That sounds
totally wrong. It could not, like, that's all made up and farcical. That was all introduced at the same time, where they gave like, oh, we're going around the sun. The sun is this thing that's out there, it's far away, and we're in the third heaven away from the sun, and all these things. That's exactly when they were, burning the alchemists at the stake. That's when they changed the calendars. They literally changed all the cosmology, and they gave people mundane astrology just because 60% of the time you're going to be somewhat right, and it's just enough rightness for people to feel satisfied with it. But the real truth of it was, no, we live exactly as it's biblically, and not just biblically, like the majority of traditions out there are like, no, we're on a flat,
Yep.
plane of existence.
Yeah, the Navajo, the Egyptians, everybody had a flat Earth cosmology sort of, dome.
Right. And we're in an isotropic field, which means we're in a spherical field, but that field is like a spherical bubble around us. We're right in the middle. We're in the plane of inertia, as Ken Wheeler likes to say. And inertia means this is where the spirit slows down enough to experience boundaries. So we're in the boundary layer between heaven and hell in this isotropic bubble, and those things that we see up there, those lights, are sonoluminescent signalers of archons and daemons. So when I'm teaching people the sky, I'm not just teaching them the sky, I'm teaching them a cosmology. You have the fixed stars of the sky, which are the heavenly representations. Those are the true archetypes, just like we were talking earlier about how you're a man and you're a woman. You are like, those things are moving through you perfectly. Well, the Mazzaroth, the 13 constellations, those are perfect archetypes that are constantly being signaled, and they're considered heavenly because they never change. And then we have these little buggers, these other little luminaries that are moving in front of them, and that's what the Greeks called the archons and the daemons. If they were beneficial to you, they were daemons. If they were archons, they were not beneficial to you.
Oh, wait, so daemon, that's different than demon, but you can see there's an etymology there, but it's been inverted. Is that correct?
Well, they're both. It's both. The Greeks said they were both beneficial and not beneficial, because it's exactly the way the Christians would. The demons a lot of times will tell you things that are true.
Yeah.
But they're doing it for their purposes to goat you into something else. That's exactly what a daemon does. A daemon is an independent entity that will give you good guidance and will give you good information at certain times, but it is acting independent of your will. And that's exactly all the Greek writings. I shouldn't say all. The majority of what we've been exposed to from mythological perspectives, from the Western perspective, all those stories are describing the interactions between these archons and daemons, these demigods and gods, and the way their energies influence and what occurs to you as a being that it is not saved by Christ is you become like a marionette. You become this little puppeted being that the archons and daemons, depending on their geometry, that they use to live out their lascivious nature, to live out. Because I remember as a little kid reading these, I'm like, these guys are like gross. Like, and it's because they are. They literally are. They're not anything that God intended in his human family. Yeah. But if you give up your agency, if you externalize authority, and you become this really permeable or semi-permeable being on the spiritual level, they're running you. That's what they're doing. And now with the work of Jerry Marzinski's and hundreds of other people, where you could just see it, like
Yeah.
it's now coming to the general lexicon where people understand the majority of their thoughts are not their own.
Mm.
There, there are these other energies that are moving through. And before the advent of, MAC addresses and all this like new biological firmware stuff that they're doing, it used to be strictly on a spiritual level. Now a lot of that space is engineered and it's synthetic, but it behooves a person to really understand their upline, their authority, their jurisdiction with their creator, and consistently always re-anchor that. If you keep re-anchoring that on a daily, multiple times a day, daily level, all that other noise and chatter, it won't really affect you the way it wants to, because we're made in the image and likeness of our creator. So if we consistently choose our creator, then all this other tomfoolery won't make its way through.
Yeah, that's such an important point, to always come back to that recentering. So I love how you put that. Um, oh, I just find all this so fascinating. Like I feel like I have so many questions, but going back to when you run a conception chart, and this is, you're running true sidereal charts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So a couple of questions. In that chart, you said that's based on 13 constellations. So are there 13 signs? And like,
Yes.
can your sun sign be, what's the 13th?
Well, the 13th will always be Pisces. Pisces is at the end of the list. Between Scorpio and Sagittarius, there's the addition of Ophiuchus.
Oh, yes, that's Isaac's told me about. Okay, so that's in that system. Okay, so interesting. And then when you're running, so obviously, like most people don't know like the time they were conceived. How do you run a conception chart? Like, what's the calculation?
That's what the Rosicrucians figured out.
Right.
They charted it for like 400 years, and there's the average time for the gestation is 273 days. But depending on where the moon is in a wheel chart, the moon will tell you, relative, whether it's above the horizon, whether the time is increasing or decreasing from a light perspective. That gives you like the amount of days that the person was actually in gestation. And then you just, I just take it to a calendar and, do the math. And then I work the wheel to like, if it was a descending chart or an ascending chart from a light perspective, that positions the moon perfectly. And that was what that's what they had figured out through observation, as far as I can tell. The Rosicrucians wrote about it, and as soon as I read it and I experimented with it for about 3 years with my clients, that is the way to do it. And it makes sense, because what I've seen, you're always given, like, God will always give a person exactly what it is that they want. So like, if a person just wants a home, and that's where their desire stops, they will be given just that, just like a box or whatever. Or like, say a person wants like a home that's more environmentally responsible, or wants a home that, has these certain characteristics, like that ends up coming into existence and showing up for the person. If you want a mate that has XYZ characteristics and you're more specific with it, you get that. You always get what you want. The thing is, a lot of people aren't honest with themselves about what they want. And so what I've seen in the astrology world is a lot of people are just content with like knowing their horoscope. But because I was literally working in a system where I physically was working on them in a healing capacity, I needed to have more specific information. And this system gave it to me.
Yeah.
I have a question on that with regards to astrocartography. So we're talking about the difference, a little bit about the difference between tropical and then true sidereal, and then a step further with what you're into. Does do the lines for the planets and their ascending, descending, zenith, and all that, is that different from tropical to sidereal when you're looking at astrocartography?
No, the planets are the same. It's the signs that are different.
And signs that
And
they're
then
okay.
also when and this is another thing, and a lot of people don't like hearing this either. As you can kind of tell in true manifestor form, I kind of shit on people's parades.
Yeah.
So you can't, like, say you have a couple. This just recently happened to me. There's a couple and one of them wants to move and the other one doesn't. And the people aren't being honest with each other. And one person's already made up their decision and the other one's just open to whatever. And they're like, "Oh, could you do an astrocartography chart for me?" And I'm like, "You've already made your decision. I'm not going to do it."
Okay.
Because you're going to take whatever honest information I give you and you're going to lie to yourself and mold it into exactly what you have already decided. And it's a waste of my time. I'm too busy. You're wasting my time because you've already made the decision. "Oh, no, I didn't. I go, "Okay, in this case, this is how much it's going to cost because I have to run a synastry chart where I combine you and your mate in your second epoch because you're both in your second epochs, and then run astrocartography through your second epoch synastry chart." That's 6 hours of my time. This is what this will cost. Because that's being precise. Because when you're married with kids, you are one, whether you like it or not.
Mm-hmm.
You know, especially if you have the context to stay together and stay as a family unit. So just to do one person's astrocartography, if I just do the one woman's astrocartography, I'm one, incomplete, and two, I'm lying because that's not enough information. I have to do the synastry chart of them both together in the correct epoch. She goes to this bullshit, mundane, tropical astrology chart, and she just puts in she doesn't even put it in the right epoch, and it just said one thing that fit her decision that she already made, and she's made it, and they're gone.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, I'm so glad I didn't waste my time.
Right. Yeah, it's too bad. I mean, it's tempting to just go this simple route like that instead of actually looking at what is it telling me that I don't want to hear.
Yeah.
Like,
no, dude, you're a rare person.
Yeah.
You're a rare person. Most people have already made the decision. It was that great scene in the second Matrix where Neo's talking to the Oracle, and he's like, "Well, why am I here?" And she's like, "You've already made your decision. You're here to figure out why you made it." And that's the truth. Most people have already made the decision. Most people are like, when they're doing these big things, they've already decided. They might not be honest that they've decided, but they've decided.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. I love it because it is so precise. It is like so like humblingly precise. And like a lot of times I'll forget to even look at my own stuff. And something will be going on for me and I'll notice the pattern and I'll see the pattern. Then I'll look at my transits and I'm like, "Oh God, thank God." That's just the archons and daemons doing their thing. Like, okay, whew, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so
If
it's so valuable to have that perspective. But it's also because we had someone on we were looking at talking about astrology, tropical astrology and like the transits for the year. And that was, what we talked about too is like, because what I think what you're speaking to is like you've made the decision and it's like they want the chart or they want the thing for that external validation, like I made the right decision. But those things shouldn't run your life. Like they're really good, I think, to look at. Like now that we're actually talking about it, I'm like, oh, maybe we should look at that in terms of like, because we want to go back to the States at some point. We're kind of planning on going back later this year, but we've kind of said a few times over the last couple of years, oh, we're going to go back, and it hasn't worked out. And we don't, we've kind of said some places we want to live, but Isaac's always like, yeah, we should totally look at the astrocartography before we kind of choose. And it's like, it's good to look at those things and go into it with this openness and be willing to sort of adapt and change your mind about things or whatever. But when you're looking at it for this like certainty and like this, again, like this external, like something telling me what I should do. Again, it's like going back to that, you kind of lose the magic of life then when you just like trying to, make things fit the way you want it.
Right. You've already made the decision. Now you're just trying to figure out why you made the decision.
Well,
Yeah.
I like that as well. Like it's how I look at astrocartography because I don't know anything about it. All I know is I'm on my Saturn descendant and my moon something. I don't know what, but they're conjunct in my natal chart, and I'm like right near it. And I was remembering some things I learned about a Saturn dealing with like older age or antiques and things like that. And I realized some of my closest friends here are like much older than me. And I get like some really good ideas and I bounce ideas off of people that have experience. And like, I was like, yeah, that's interesting being close to my Saturn line here. But
close. His Saturn line literally runs right through where we live. And then the moon line's a little bit is close by.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's funny when you look at that. I'm like, I already knew something brought me here. Life situations, Alexa, her family, the chances that one, like her parents would meet and make her very slim, but it happened. Two total worlds apart came together in Australia, and then Alexa, all these different things, right? So it's amazing to see how God like kind of, has this like his own like map of how things are going. And then things like astrocartography can help you kind of like understand a little bit more about like what's going on, what shapes or what flavors your experience.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, I think it's wonderful self-scouting. I love the tools that are available now. I think everything from human design to astrocartography to even like I say mundane astrology. I'm not saying that as an insult. I'm just saying it doesn't give like real clarity. It might give a direction, but it doesn't like really define terms all that well.
Mm-hmm.
But all these tools are awesome because that just shows someone that they're really interested in learning about themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I love it.
Yeah. So I think they're all valuable. But it's just like anything, like there's high quality and low quality information,
Yeah. Yeah, totally. No, I'm totally with you on that because there's so many different modes and I'm open to all of them. Like I heard you talking about this, the true sidereal and doing the conception charts. I've never heard of that. And I was like, that sounds fascinating. And then I'm only just starting to learn more about tropical astrology now just because it's linked to human design. And one of my teachers actually, because someone asked about, because there are programs where you can run human design charts with different modes of astrology, but actually you'd be able to tell me this, but apparently like when based on Ra, sort of like the downloads that he got, it was all based on tropical astrology only. Is that true?
Well, the way he got it, it was essentially numeric. It was pretty much all numeric.
Right.
And then it had to be deciphered into these systems.
Yeah.
If you get 30 degrees, like just makes things simple.
Yeah.
And simple is really good for the masses and all that type of stuff. And I get it, but if you want a little bit more of a refined thing and you want it from a perspective that actually mirrors what we can observe, like when you look up at the sky Virgo is very big and Scorpio is really small. In this, like in every astrological text, they'll talk about the signs were derived from the constellations. So why are we saying that that's 30 degrees and that's 30 degrees when it's very obvious when you look up in the sky? One almost takes up half the sky, the other one takes up like a little sliver of the sky. Like, and in nature, everything's different sizes.
Yeah.
But yet, like, like it's just like anything. When you really start to get into it and you see the little intricacies of it, like you can never really go back.
Yeah.
At least I can.
Yep.
And that's because of my astrology is I'm on the Pisces Aquarius cusp.
Interesting.
So my whole bend is like ultra innovation and problem solving mixed with hypersensitivity to the spirit realm. And there you go.
Yeah.
And so I can't just be this like, oh, my horoscope says this. Like,
yeah.
I have too much Aquarius action running through.
Yeah. There's so much nuance, and and again, there's like so many different systems, and I love learning them all. I heard this woman describe Vedic astrology about like the way she says it is like Vedic astrology is kind of like the soul's, like more of like the soul's path, or the soul's kind of blueprint, and whereas like tropical, she only spoke about tropical, is more like the more of the earthly plane, like your human kind of side. So there's all these different philosophies around it, and I just love learning them all. I find them all super fascinating, and I think it's just, like you said, it just allows you to go deeper into discovering like who you truly are as an individual. And
absolutely.
But is that really the use for astrology? That's the one thing I challenge it, where it's like, historically, I don't think it was like, oh, let's use this to learn about me. I'm like, well, kingdoms and times and epochs and like, there's a lot going on with it that most people don't consider because they're just looking at their personality with it.
No, collectively, of course, because then you've got evolutionary astrology looks a lot at that and like the collective, and then the different planets, like different planets speak to more of like the individual experience versus the collective. And I think it's all of that.
I think we were much more attuned to the heavens in the past because you can just look at the architecture. The architecture was attuned. And so the old world buildings that we still have up in pretty much every continent, you have aligned with the architecture. So we right now are in the low of the low. from I'm not an evolutionary person. I'm not somebody that believes in that model at all. So as far as I can tell, there were superior intellects, there were superior buildings, there was superior physiology, there were superior lifespans. And so I have, in looking at all of that, and then looking at the structures that we still have standing today that are resonant, they're all aligned with the heavens. And so that tells me it's actually the opposite, Isaac. Like, I think in the past, they absolutely would know about a being. They would absolutely, like, you even have to this day, and I'm not putting these people on a pedestal, but the Tibetan monk said that they found the Dalai Lama because they knew the stars and the arrangement. They even has it in the Bible. The three wise men knew where Jesus was. Like, come on.
That's a good point. Yeah, there's a Roman historian, starts with a T. I can't remember his name,
Timaeus?
But he, according, maybe Vox Dave mentioned it one time a long time ago, but he was like, he basically had written because he studied astrology, and he knew exactly when this Messiah or this king would be born because of the astrology. He just didn't know who he would be and what he would get up to, but he just knew that there was a very important guy.
It's undeniable. Like, I have chills. Like, my whole body is goosies right now. that we at the physical plane of inertia are being run by the heavens. Like, in the old civilizations knew that. They knew it. We're like, oh, maybe. Oh, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Oh, pish,
Well, it's so funny.
Pish posh.
I love that word, pish
Yeah,
pong.
and it's so funny you just brought up the like the story of the three wise men, because I literally brought this up recently when I was saying these sects, these certain, you know, branches of Christianity that like believe that like astrology is the devil and tarot is the devil and like everything's the devil, and I'm like, I don't understand that line of thought when literally in the Bible, like the three wise men were using the stars to guide them. Like it's literally, like you said, it's literally written in the Bible. And I think it's a massive psyop because, again, it just takes us away from the truth, right?
Totally takes us away from the truth. Like it's like the Bible talks about reincarnation. Nobody wants to talk about that. Like it talks about astrology. I mean, literally in the Old Testament, how many times the word Mazzaroth is brought up, and like it's just laughable. We're listening to the opinions of dolts, like people that have like never really read something for themselves and like digested it with their own inner authority. They're just repeating what the authoritarians of our time want us to think.
We know that the skin absorbs anything it comes into contact with, and unfortunately, many well-known skincare brands laden their products with potentially harmful ingredients, most of which you can't even pronounce. Natural Art Form is different.
If you're sick of reading long ingredient lists and still having no idea what you're actually putting on your skin and whether it's good for you, then Regenerate Advanced Skin Repair Lotion is here to take out all of the guesswork.
Regenerate combines simple yet powerful organic herbal remedies like calendula, comfrey, and aloe vera with DMSO for visible skin rejuvenation that feels as good as it sounds.
Regenerate is designed to stimulate natural collagen production, boost skin resilience, and soothe damaged, irritated skin, delivering results that even $300 skin products can't provide.
To make the switch to a body care brand that values your health as much as you do, head to naturalartform.com, where you can get 10% off as a Natural AF listener using code NaturalAF10 at checkout. Thank you for supporting the show. Now back to the episode. So those listening, if you've noticed, we've kind of like jumped or skipped a couple times in this episode. We had some technical difficulties. The mojo is way too high in Missouri right now.
Yes.
That literally broke the internet.
Yeah. Once again, I'll be calm today. I'll be calm. Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna jump back in and just do a really quick wrap up. Don't know where it dropped out, but we really want to get into a little bit about what you're doing now, Topher, with your biochar. So we've known for a while that you, like at the Bear Fest, you were doing workshops on teaching people how to do biochar, but now you've got your own company and you're just making it and producing it and selling it. Tell us more.
Yeah, for about 15 years, I was teaching people how to make their own rocket retorts. I had invented a rocket retort. The more I talked to all these university scientists and I guess you say lean on my field experience, the happier I am that I did all that experimentation with making all these retorts, because everything I learned in the field is proving out scientifically, in the sense that a retort is like an alchemical anthenor. It's a vessel that when it's positively pressurized with heat, it doesn't allow any atmosphere into it. And this is the way that alchemists used to go through their Negretto phase to make their little pieces of biochar. They called that the Negretto phase. And then they would reconstitute it with different oils and different essences and things like that to give them what they called the white stone. So they would go from the black stone to the white stone. We're not doing the reconstituting part, except for allowing the animals and the biology in the soil to actually take this Negretto phase carbon and then essentially reconstitute the soil and let everything grow. And so the best way to think of what biochar is biochar is just a carbon that's very stable that perfectly houses the perfect biology for microbes, fungus, all the things that are needed to allow nutrient uptake for a plant. And that's what I'm doing now. Throughout the years, all of my teaching of like, hey, buy retort, buy retort, buy retort. I just kept getting such big demands for volume of biochar. The majority of people are not do-it-yourselfers. The majority of people are like, just sell me the biochar, damn it. So it took a few years to find the right team, find the right kilns, find the right feedstock and all that. And they did right here in Missouri, which is wonderful. I had a feeling that would happen in the Ozarks just because there is so many plus wood products that are made here that that there would be a lot of wood waste. So obviously there's tons of pellets being made here. Now we're making biochar. And it's really taken off very well. So we did a soft launch in November, knowing that the spring was when things would really kick off. And we just wanted to get all of our processes down. So we launched Black Gold Biochar in November. I did the podcasting circuit. Big Bear introduced me to Jake Shields and Sean Kelly. And then I went down to Florida and saw the Nephilim Death Squad guys. And I've just been kind of making the rounds, trying to get the word out with the lie of the big carbon deception out there. We're told that carbon is our enemy. The biggest problem we have is that we have a carbon deficit, including people. There's not enough carbon-based life forms. So, so that's what I'm doing now. I'm really now I'm going to have to make this a full-time gig. Because I've been one of those people that have, I kind of rotate my jobs during for the season, but now seeing all these different, I guess you'd call field studies that our biochar is going to be a part of at these different universities. That's really awesome, but it's also, really cool. It's going to take a bunch of time, and then whenever you have any modicum of success, you have to think of expansion. You have to make sure that you can meet the demand. That kind of happened to me with the retorts. Was at first I sort of had Costa Rica brain when I moved back to the States, thinking, okay, I'll make the cheapest thing possible because that's all anybody would want, because that was sort of like the Costa Rican way. And when I got here, I made myself a stainless steel retort and everything like that. And then people told me, oh, I want those. And so I was like, okay, that's going to be like $700 a retort. And then I sold out immediately. Wow. But I haven't been able to find stainless steel at that price ever again. So now that same retort would cost like $1,400. So it's just like everything from a do-it-yourselfer perspective takes so much more time. And I still love doing all the do-it-yourselfer stuff. I still, do that. But the market demanded the product, so that's now what I'm producing.
Amazing. And how are the sales going since your custom song "Black That Ash Up," created by yours truly?
Yeah.
In the garden spaces, we build new places, heavy activities, dirt on our faces, digging deep down where the roots embrace this, turn scraps to riches, charcoal traces, Black that ash up, black and gold, fuel for the future, never gets old. Black that ash up, watch it unfold. Life from the ground, black and gold. Just pee on it, spark the fire, ignite it. Biochar dreams can't fight it, we light it. Carbon lock tight, we recycle. Soil's getting rich, that's a revival. Break it, burn it, black that ash. Ash the soil, cash from trash. Life renewed in a gritty flash. Black and gold, we make it last. Black that ash up, black and gold. fuel for the future, never gets old. Back that ash up, watch it unfold. Light from the ground, black and gold.
You should hear my little girl sing it.
Oh, that's so funny.
Oh, my little girl. I'll record it for you, but my little girl bumps to that song. She's just like, you know, my wife and I, we're South Florida kids, right? So we always like that little bass line, and whenever you could get a little nasty in there, like my wife and I love that. So
yeah, it turned out to be such a good song, but I have to say, Isaac's always, he's very creative, so he loves doing videos and all that. But one day he's out filming and I look outside and his face is covered in black. And then I'm like, what is going on out there? And then he comes in and he goes, can you just come and film something for me real quick? And I was like, sure. So I'm filming him and he does this like backwards handstand on the tree and is doing like twerking on the tree. Anyway,
that upside down reverse twerk was impressive, bro. You're a man of many talents.
Remember was it the Harlem Shake? I remember seeing guys in the oil field. I used to work in the oil field, and the guys were doing the Harlem Shake videos out there where they doing normal work, and then the music kicks in, and then all of a sudden the drop hits, and it flashes, and then everyone's wearing like techno glasses, and they're doing twerking, and they're like stripper pulling on the drill on the drill.
Oh, that's
pipe.
awesome. That's so good.
So
I love
good.
That.
Yeah, and it wasn't until he made the song that because I was like, I love this song, it's so cool. And like I got the whole like the biochar thing, but the because it says like black that ash up, black and gold. I didn't realize that you'd started a biochar company called Black Gold. And I was like, that's what Topher's doing now. So yeah, we'll pop it in if we can so our listeners can see the video. It's so funny. But I want to get to go ahead.
I think we're gonna actually open a plant in Australia.
Really?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I think it'll go off here.
I think there's enough demand for the product over there, and I've spoken to a few people of means and people that are in the ag world over there, and at least initially it would make sense to ship, but over the long term, that doesn't make much sense.
Yeah.
So to actually open a plant there. I think up there in North Queensland, up in your area, just because of the sugarcane, the sugarcane feedstock is
tons of it. Yeah.
Heaps up here. Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Heaps.
Well, that kind of that leads into my next question, because I know biochar is one of those things that's kind of like amazing for everything, but is it actually like super beneficial because as we know, like the problem with sort of commercial agriculture is that it just pillages the land. Like it's not good. Just like monocrops just completely rape the land of all the nutrients and the soil and everything. So does biochar help to sort of bring that back and regenerate land that's sort of been stripped away of all the goodness?
Yeah, pretty much when you say it strips the land of all its goodness, you're saying it's stripping it of its carbon.
Right.
So what you end up losing is the carbon, all the chemicals and everything like that. They pretty much defile the carbon matrix and then make that into runoff. And so at least here in the United States, what used to like this, where we live is the Missouri grasslands, what used to be the Missouri grasslands. And the settlers said you could dig 6 to 8 feet and you'd have this like dark black earth. Now there's maybe 6 inches. And so, and that's mainly because the slash and burn, tactics that are used in most places, the rotation of how you bring your animals through, and then current modern day, when I say modern day, I like since the 50s, the agricultural revolution with chemicals has just absolutely stripped everything.
It was interesting when I came here. I'd heard of, well, you'll remember the guy that invented or came up with the whole biodynamic system or whatever. And I didn't know much about it. Yeah, Steiner. And come here and it's way more prevalent. I think your brother went to a Steiner school growing up, and then you see all these biodynamic places. In fact, we've had in the local little grocery store shopping place that we go to every now and then, in the bottom of that shopping center is a biodynamic store. Like they have organic stuff biodynamically grown. We have a friend that gets wine from, he calls them the winemaker. It's like biodynamic wine. And there's actually quite a few brands like that around here. But yeah, Australia's kind of, compared to America, ahead of the curve for sure on
Definitely
restoration and stuff and better practices. But they still, there's like both. And
But then we're
also
basically
strips of oil.
communists. So does it really?
Right.
Does it really?
Bloody
and there's only like 10 people there on such a massive continent. So it's just like, yeah,
we've got room to grow. Isaac's like dead set on a revolution here. I think that's why he's here.
Yeah. The revolution is going to be like just people that are having kids and not like, you know, taking poison injections, and then everyone else. It's just going to be like a tree splitting and growing in two different directions.
Yeah, definitely.
Which isn't really a revolution. It's more of a bifurcation.
Yeah, I could see that. I've met so many Aussies in Costa Rica and Central America. I've always had like a endearing connection with them. One of my first clients I ever built for in Costa Rica was Australian. And so I it's one of the only continents I haven't been to that I really want to go to. Like I really,
you have to. You'll love it here, Topher. Isaac feels, especially our region where we live. Isaac feels like he's like, I feel like I moved to the movie Avatar.
We have pyramids here, like 5 minutes away from our house. Like legit, there's a couple pyramids. And then Wollumben, of course, the Magic Mountain.
Yeah, there's so many amazing places to see here. You'll love it. And because you're super connected to the land, Topher, like anyone like that, they just absolutely love it here. There's so much going on energetically here.
It will sound funny, but I knew ever since I was a little kid going to the movie theater and seeing Crocodile Dundee, and when he was walking through the outback, like just those scenes of the outback, like I get chills, like because I really like the desert. I know that might sound weird because I've lived in the tropics most of my life, but I actually really love walkabout. And anytime I've spent in the desert, I've been like, you know, my favorite plant medicine is peyote, which is like a desert medicine. And so I just really vibe with like seeing the horizon and like taking your time just walking and like that whole dream time, liminal space type of thing. Like, I've always had a deep resonance with that area. I can't wait to go.
Yeah, we can't wait to have you. It'll be awesome.
Yes.
One last question on biochar. Is it similar to activated charcoal in that you can actually ingest? Because activated charcoal, you can take it and it helps to detox. Can you use it for like help, like for the body as well?
Yeah, so activated charcoal is a misnomer. It's activated carbon because charcoal cannot be activated. So I just I'm a stickler about that.
Yeah.
Especially after talking to all these scientists now at University of Missouri. So charcoal, just by its name, infers that it was prepared a certain way. That
when
is
I
not
cook in the kitchen,
that's not activated. Like it can't be activated. You might have like a really small percentage of it that's activated, but overall it's just essentially a positively charged porous carbon thing. Activated carbon, the difference is it's negatively charged. And because it's negatively charged, it's so much better for your body. That's why you would take it, because all the free radicals in your system are positively charged. And because it has so much porosity in it, it literally is called a binder. It will suck in all those positively charged things and bind it, neutralize them so they no longer affect you adversely. So there's a few doctors over here that are testing our product to white label it to act as a binder. So if people are doing like a turpentine cleanse, they would take this. If they're just trying to get rid of toxic bile, they would take this. If they're taking any type of or if you're doing any type of cleanse where your GI tract is releasing whatever is in it and around it, you should take an activated carbon, because all those free radicals and all, they call them reactive oxygen species, as are really deleterious in your system. All of that gets absorbed by the activated carbon, which is biochar.
Amazing. That's so cool.
So the stuff that you buy in the store that says activated charcoal or whatever, is that positively charged then?
I don't know. I don't know the regulations. A lot of people will sell charcoal as activated. A lot of people will call their biochar when it's just mainly charcoal. Like there's no real regulation. I was even like because we're setting up these parameters and field tests with these very large institutions. And when I've talked to them about their prior testing, I'm like, okay, what percentage of the biochar did you use was actually activated carbon, and which percentage of it was charcoal? Did you inoculate it? What was the feedstock? Like, I'm asking them more specific questions than they even knew. Like, they were like, the one guy's like, no, we didn't inoculate it. I'm like, then what were you trying to accomplish with your field trial of it? Like, what were you doing? And like, so like most things in life, the quality things you have to be very specific. Our particular product in our kilns, the reason why I went with this company is because the kiln, we can guarantee that up to 95% of what we produce at the end of the line is biochar. And unlike your song, there's no ash. There is no ash, because ash, if you're talking to somebody at like a coal plant, or you're just talking to anybody that deals with chimney sweeps and things like that, ash is when you get to the point where you're reducing whatever the fuel is down to its calcium composition. And so white ash, gray ash is mainly calcium, like fly ash is calcium. So we don't let the stock burn out. What we do is we get it red hot, like it's literally glowing orange, and then we spray it with a very, very fine water mist that brings the temperature down really fast. So there's no ash. And when I told the scientist today, I was like, yeah, we have like 0.04% ash in our product. She was like, whoa, she was kind of blown away.
Yeah,
So,
That stuff is so interesting. That I remember before you moved back to the States, I was watching you on Instagram, and I made my own little rocket stove. I made, if you've seen like a Dakota fire hole, how it works kind of like a rocket stove. Mm-hmm. You just like dig it in the ground. And this is at my parents' place, and I was throwing like dead birds in there and stuff. Like, we had all these birds taking all our fruit, and unfortunately that's when I used to just shoot them all instead of net the trees. But even the bird, after that process, because I had a sealed container, it was like glass, and it like made a clink sound when you like dumped it out. It's like everything just has this like, and it's very lightweight. It's like a fraction of the weight of whatever the mass was before you put it in there. Yes. It's amazing stuff. Your stuff is amazing though. Like I did get some from Bearfest, and I brought it back in the greenhouse in Wyoming, and we literally have it helping. We have a lime tree growing. I think there's an orange tree inside a greenhouse in Wyoming that survives, negative 30 wind chill and all that. And
that's beautiful.
And grapes.
That makes me really happy.
Yeah, biochar is biocharing.
Yeah. It makes me so happy. Like this year, I finally feel on my farm, my soil is where it needs to be, and like all my plants are singing. Like, it took a while, it took 3 years to get it here, but like I feel really good about it.
Yeah, that's amazing. You're doing your manifesta thing. Like, look at what you're putting into the world. I love it. Like, no one's doing that.
It's such, like, I got to tell you, it's such a, like, I was at my wit's end in 2010 with my cacao grove, like, going away. Like, you talk about heartbreak, like walking out and seeing my cacao grove just being mauled. There's nothing you can do either. It's not like you could go
Wow.
out there and like spray the leaf cutter ants. There's like millions and millions and millions of them.
Wow.
And I was just so heartbroken. And to have this, substance come into my consciousness and then like, oh, I can make this and then make it. And then like my cacao trees are beautiful and they survived and they were never affected again. And there was no more leaf cutters on my property.
Wow.
Like it is borderline miraculous. And
Yeah.
the thing I love is like I said earlier, Victor Schauberger always said like the real answers are always simple. And this is so simple. Like there's endless biomass. Like it's literally like an infinite source. And so we're just using the element of fire and then the element of water to just accelerate what nature would do anyway. And then it's fixed and it's there and it's cumulative and it just keeps on building and building and building. Like I started 3 years ago with our raised bed out here and our soil was ground level. Now my soil is it's close to 16 inches high.
Wow.
And my raised
Nice.
bed.
That's
And so that's what
amazing.
composting and everything else, but it's just like that now is going to become a calorie sink. Like that will grow so much food and it will take on so much heat. The whole process of life now, it's almost like a signaling indicator to the rest of my property of like, oh, we can be abundant now. Like there's a surplus. It's not just enough to have like, some blackberries growing here or there or whatever, but it's just like, that's going to happen just because animals eat stuff and they spread it through their poo and things like that. Now there's literally like, this is abundance. Like now I can give to my neighbors. Now I can trade. Now I can like eat like so good. And like, I was at the organic store here today. They're literally selling an organic bell pepper that they bring in from Mexico, which is like 1,500 miles away, for $5.
Oh my God. That's ridiculous.
For one bell pepper.
That's insane.
And I'm just like, no, I'm not going to do that. just
Crack
on
it
a
open, you got like
principle.
100 seeds. You can make thousands of plants out of the, like, yeah.
Yeah, especially this time of year, right? Because our bell peppers, they're just flowering now. So like, we're gonna have a summer full of like, beautiful bell peppers. Is just like looking at that. And, I understand like in the winter time buying from different regions of the world and things like that. But I just really, really like that. And I'm not a control freak in any way, but like when I know what all the inputs are, like when I know the manure is coming from our donkeys that are eating nothing but our grass and there's no glyphosate, and then our vermiculture is just from our compost, and then the biochar we're making from all local biomass and things like that. And just like, and then I'm harvesting some organic material from down by the lake in our pond and mixing that all in. And then I'm going to dead tree stumps to get all of the mycorrhiza and mixing that into our compost teas. It just is like, it's all right here. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Next level.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's honestly such an inspiration because I do not have a green thumb whatsoever. But when you hear of people that are doing it, because I think that's can be a huge block for some people. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing, or, or even they start to do it. And like we've done through a lot of trial and error, realizing like what grows here and what doesn't. But that's what I love about the biochar is it kind of makes anything possible. Like it doesn't matter what kind of land you're on. Well, I guess it kind of does because I know some areas. Was it a part of our property or something where it's like a lot of clay? How does biochar affect like if you've got a lot of clay on your land?
Oh, it totally helps because clay compacts. So clay doesn't allow for nutrient distribution or mycorrhiza fungi to spread. The way you can think of mycorrhiza, the fungi, is that's like the soil's internet. And like all those little strands that you see of the mycelium, those are like, T1 lines. So they're sending information and transporting data and nutrients. And then you could think of all the bacteria as your alchemists. They're transducing one thing into another thing. So the mycorrhiza talk to the fungi talk to the microbes, and they say, hey, those tomatoes over there, they need this. And then the alchemists are like, oh, okay, and they make it, and then the mycorrhiza shunts that to the roots, and then that, it's taken care of.
It's incredible.
So when you have clay is so dense that it doesn't really allow that many microbes in it, especially if it's like a red clay. If it's not like a calcium rich clay, like a white clay, if it's like a red or an orange clay, those clays are bauxite and they're full of aluminum silicate. And aluminum, just by its very nature, does not want to distribute. It doesn't allow microbes to really travel or even mycelium. So when you add biochar, one, it reduces the level of compaction that the soil will have. So any red clay is considered, or most clays are considered this, but red clays are the most. They're considered a plastic material, meaning they don't do well under compression. They kind of splooge out. And because they do that, they kind of form into these areas where they don't ever want to have any carrying capacity. They don't hold anything. And because they won't hold anything, your plants just don't get any nutrients in them, So when you add biochar, one, you're adding a body of carbon to that aluminum silicate. That one will stop the clay from moving around so much, from like splooging from one area to the other. It doesn't allow it to compact either. And then because now you have some biology that's actually in the clay, that biology, those microbes will actually start to convert the aluminum silicate into other things.
Wow.
That's what you always want. I forget the name that they would call it in biodynamics, but it was some word like a biological driver. You need biological drivers. They're like a catalyst. So like, for example, like, when they started to do that green, mile in the desert in the Sahara, the very first thing that they did was they dug ponds and filled them with water. And it was so like, most people were like, what? Why would you do that? Like, how is this possible? How is this going to help? And it literally brought more water. Wow. Because it was a biological driver. You can think of carbon as the primary biological driver because all biology comes from it. Like likes like. Life begets life. So pretty much anything that's going to grow is going to be carbon based. So the way you think of it is like, oh, okay, well, if I want things to grow and those things are carbon, let's give that carbon. So it's one of those really cool things. It helps with cation exchange, and without getting too nerdy about that, you could just think that it just allows electrical currents to move through the medium of the soil, and healthy, like biological electrical currents, not like hot electricity, but a more cold electricity and currents to move through the soil, which then that does its thing with the cation exchange, which helps all those little alchemists do what they need to do to break everything down and convert it into something usable.
Yeah. I love it. I can't wait till you bring it out to Australia. We're going to be buying buttloads of it.
Yeah. And I'll probably need people, because every plant needs 7 to 10 people to run it. So we can automate the kilns to a great degree, but we have stockyards where you're bringing in all the feedstock. You have all the conveyances around. You have loading and shipping and all the rest of it. So it's one of those things that I've done now in the last 2 countries that I've lived in, where it's just like, I like being an entrepreneur that generates jobs.
Yeah.
Because that allows like a lot of people to benefit and like make a living and, you know, feel like they're part of something bigger than just like going to a job that they hate or something that they don't believe in or whatever. Like there's like, okay, there's this thing, people want it, you know, we're doing good, and wow, we can actually make a good living doing this. Like it's a full win-win.
Yeah.
And when I was a younger man, I didn't think that was possible. Like I didn't go into the world of finance or anything like that because all I was exposed to was profiteering, which to me was horrible. Like I couldn't do that because I have a conscience. But now that I found these other, you know, forms of work that are literally a win-win-win-win, like I can't find a loss in it. Now I'm hyper motivated to be profitable and grow and expand and all these things, because now I can see, oh, okay, this is awesome. I don't have any, like, you know, I'm not going to break my Hippocratic oath of not, you know, first do no harm. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm not doing any harm with this. Like we're actually we're fixing things. Let's go.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, we'll hook you up, Topher. Yeah, there's so many people like in this area. There's another area further up north in Queensland that has a community of people that are like right into that. And yeah, you definitely find those more like purpose-driven people for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so great.
Yeah. And tell us more about this Elementals Festival, because Isaac mentioned it and then I actually saw a video that Chance Garton posted recently.
Yes.
I have no idea what it's about, but just the fact that it's called Elementals, I'm like, this sounds right up my alley.
Well, the Elementals Festival was born from a conference I went to in New York in 2025, the Terrainology Conference held by the Biggleson brothers. There is a wonderful Australian producer there, Rebecca Scott Steele, and she was the producer of an Acapulco 3 years ago when I went down to Acapulco, and she liked my presentation down there, but didn't really know anything about biochar. And then at the Bigglesons thing, we just hit it off really well, and you know that like did awesome. Like it was a really good talk and panel and everything like that. And my workshop really was like, it was a pinnacle part of the experience. And she just came to me and she's like, you need your own thing. and I was like, cool. I'm down. Like I love talking to people and you know, I have a pretty good Rolodex of really cool people I've podcasted with. And so it's like most things, I don't really like, I'm not like a hyper, what's it called? It's not motivation. Like I'm not an ambitious person. So like if I always say to God, like, God, if you want me to do this, you'll make it easy. So I literally just called up 15 of the first people I could think of, or I actually called up 17 people, and 16 of them were like, yes. I was like, okay, this is going to happen. and I recruited some help of some people. And then I talked to Owen Benjamin, and I asked him, I said, hey, Owen, you know, I got this thing that we're thinking of doing. Would you be cool if we had it on your land? He's like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, would you like to be part of it? And he's like, sure, you know, like he's always game to hang out. He's the world's best professional hanger outer. And so it was just very organic. You know, I know the land well. I've done 4 festivals on that land, and we've built on it for a couple of years, and we're going to build on it again this summer for next year's Bear Fest. And so it just all worked out. It was like I was doing Confluence this week on the 23rd through the 26th. I think it's actually, I'm speaking on the 24th. And then actually, I think I'm speaking on the 23rd. I have to check. I should check that.
I was going to say check that because it's not very far away.
It's awesome. We got a friend going down there. She'll be there, Tessa Wild, and our friend Finn. They'll be at the Confluence.
Yeah, Tessa's performing. She just flew out yesterday.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, so I'm going to be I'm the initial speaker there, and I'm going to grab a bunch of people from there and bring them up to here to Missouri, and we'll do our thing up here. And it's just a great time to have these, like, our lineup is amazing. I mean, we have Chris Crutchfield, we have Eileen McCusick, we have Owen Benjamin, Chance Garton, Adam Stevens, Amy Hamilton, Emily Moyer, Marty Leeds, Kyle Denton.
We're having him on soon, Kyle.
Yeah.
We just booked him. Yeah.
He's awesome. Just like so many great people. And
yeah,
it's just going to be great to hang out. Matt Presti. It's just going to be a lot of fun. And then we have people that are coming in on their own dime that have very big platforms, like Mike Wilkerson of Stellium 7. And
amazing.
I just spoke with Sabrina Wallace yesterday, and she's actually going to go to Confluence, and we're going to do a little live stream there. And I just know in part, like, we're all going to be talking in like the after hours or in the green room or whatever, and there's going to be like a lot of dots connected. You know, there's going to be like, you were in what program? You did what? Like, that was where, like, you know, it's going to be like a lot of like, say what? Like a lot of that going on. And I'm for it. 'Cause, you know, to me, I love the juice. Like, that's the juice for me. Like, there is no amount of money that ever can come to that feeling of like being with, you know, like your soul tribe. In a way, I look at a lot of my podcasting cohorts as like my soul tribe. Yeah. And because I reached out and I created the podcast at a time where, like, you know, I was pretty much alone in a rainforest. So I needed companionship. I needed company to be able to talk to these people about what I was doing and experiencing. And I needed to talk to people that were better than me in their field to learn. And so I'm just so happy that the podcast has given me that ability to actually have this group of people that are worldwide that at any time I want, like, I can literally, like, if you would have told me 12 years ago I could call up Andy Kaufman or Max Egan or any of these dudes that I totally was like over the moon to know, and like, they're buds. Yeah. Like that to me is just,
that's pretty awesome. Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I love the cross-pollination. That's what's been so wild about this. I don't know what it is, man, but there's something like this part of Australia specifically, maybe the whole continent, but here, Wyoming even, people like, Alex Zek, he ended up coming to the Living Free Festival, and I met him at Music and Sky in California. Had no idea who he was. I actually didn't know about his podcast back then. Kind of hit it off, and then he came here and found out he's got a Serbian background. Alexis,
my dad's Serbian. So he spent a bit of time with my dad.
It's just like another brother from another mother.
Yeah, literally.
And then Mike Wilkerson them came out. They're going to Bandera, Texas for Confluence out of Spain. I'm just like, this is wild, man. There's like these little nodes on this network across the earth. And something's happening, man. This life, like information, like you said, the circuit board is connecting. And
that's why the events like this are so important, because, you know, like you're talking about, can't wait for the conversations that are going to happen there or whatever. And it's like, because it's this whole different frequency that is created in these places when all these people come together, and then the people that come to experience the festival, like the attendees. And it's incredible. And the way that, like, we've met so many people now at the Living Free festivals the last 2 years. Like first, like Alex Zek the first year, and then last year, Mike Wilkerson, Steve Young, Rachel Vaughan, who I don't know do you know of Rachel Vaughan? She's an Aussie here. She's, long story short, we've had her on the show before, and she's become a really good friend of ours. She comes from was born into a bloodline Freemasonry family. And, like lots. And so she's like very psychic, and she does psychic development course, and she's amazing. So we met her there last year, and it's so incredible when you meet these people for the first time. a lot of them in person, and it feels like you've known them forever. Like and there's just this like bond that, yeah, it's such an incredible, I just think these events are so important to form those connections, because there is this I don't know what you would call it, this movement, whatever you want to call it. It is a global thing, but it's like at the moment it is like these sort of, it's been these individual communities sort of all around the place. And now I think we are seeing more of that connection. And I think it's incredibly important.
Yeah, I think so too. And plus, just when you get to like, rub elbows with people in real life and like be, around each other's biofield anatomies and like, I've been talking to Eileen McCusick for a couple of years. I've been friends with Chan Scarton for 4 years. And like, I've never had the problem of reaching out to people I really respect. I know some people get a little bit shy in those regards. I've always been sort of brash in that. I'm like, oh, you're better than me. I need to be around you to like learn, that type of thing. And so, now like, to be able to give Eileen a big hug, that's just like awesome.
Yeah.
It's just,
And
I know
these events change lives. Yeah. They really will.
And I know in the bear community, I know they used to have a saying of like making the internet real life.
Yeah.
Like in a good way, the good part of the internet.
Exactly.
And that's so awesome. Like that really is an awesome thing. And, like where we are in Missouri, there was this massive bear contingent of people that moved here like 4 years ago. And like 2/3 of them are gone now. Like 2/3 of those people, dispersed. And it was mainly because most of those people that were, self-naming themselves bears really weren't living that. That wasn't their thing. They went back to the city job. They went back to this and that and whatever. And they were glomming on to like a very strong archetype in a fantasy. And what's been cool is like, I've gotten to be sort of an elder in the sense of being like, okay, I've been, whether it was the ashram days or whether it was the athletic days, whether it was living abroad with a bunch of gringos days, or whether it was like the bears days, I've got to see these, the rise of the tide and the dropping of the tide. You see these, like the momentum in community swell and then descend. And so I wasn't weirded out by people, by there being a high attrition rate. And I'm like, there's always a 2/3 attrition rate with everything.
Yeah.
Even as a dining room manager in a restaurant, you're going to have a 2/3 attrition rate of your servers. People come and they go. People come and they go. People come and they go. And so it's kind of cool to see who's stuck and who the real ones are, like who are the people that really live the ethos. And it's a really cool time with all these different, conferences and festivals, because you start to see the same faces and you're like, you're a real one. I could tell you're a real one.
Yeah, exactly.
So I appreciate that. I'm always scouting. So I'm like, yeah, you're a real one. Come.
Yeah, we're totally with you, because we've been involved with the Living Free movement for years now, and like very heavily involved now. Like this year, we're actually helping with the planning of the festival. Nice. We're very close with Dave Armstrong and his wife, who founded the Living Free movement, and we've gone through the same thing with that, with people leaving, and you really do see the ones that are there, like that are down and that are 100% authentic. And there's that solidarity. There's that between, people and the community as a whole. I'm actually was laughing though, because I'm like, out of curiosity, were those people that left the ones that formed the Leaving the Beartaria Cult Facebook group? Have you seen that, Topher?
No, I haven't.
I
haven't done Facebook other than Marketplace. And God,
I don't really do Facebook.
Years.
Yeah, I don't really do Facebook either, but Isaac showed me this one time and we were just laughing. I was like, seriously? So they were part of the bear community. They've now left, and they've got a Facebook group claiming that Beartaria is a cult, and they've left the cult. Like, it's hilarious.
That is hilarious. Well, it's kind of interesting because I actually have experience in a cult. Like I was in an ashram that was a cult. And I think a lot of my very first pods that I did with Owen, I was giving him the beats on like what a real cult is, like how the cults work. And like we did this funny skit about Sebastian Manseed. That was the name of the
super
cult
funny.
leader.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
And,
that's
like,
hilarious.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, this is the
Manseed.
thing. Like Grimbold #2, he's the real driver. Like he's the one.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was. I was Grimbold. Like I was the dude that was like, right hand to the guru, and I was like running. I was operations director, and I was like, this is how a cult works. Now I was in my mid-20s, so I had an excuse, right? I was like really stupid, but
and enthusiastic.
yeah. I still did it though, so I have all this experience with it. So when people were calling, like the Barataria cult, it could not be further from the truth. I've never been around somebody more paranoid about being seen as like idol.
Yeah.
Like, Owen hates that.
Yeah.
And like people are just so dumb. Like, I hate to say it, but it really is the truth. Because even in our own community, I run into people that were once bears and stuff like that, and they avoid me like the plague. And I'm like, I don't care what you choose to do. Like, I'm not identified. It's not like my whole sense of identity is being a bear. Like, but they are still in that, like, they're still in that, like, I'm like, oh, if you're the one that has taken offense, you're the one with the problem.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
I'm not the one avoiding you. I'm not the one, excluding you from anything.
Yeah.
So it's just funny to see, like, there's just a lot of people that are underdeveloped. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
Because
it's like some of that cult stuff, I think a lot of it starts ground up. People want to like be really like, just give away all authority to somebody else and then just be directed into like some really intense experience. Yeah, so I think at least half of it's ground up, maybe more in some circumstances.
What do you mean by ground up? What do you mean by that?
Well, like people will make a cult out of things without the thing asking it to be in a cult. Like the cult that made the Royal Air Force God after World War II, like some packages like parachuted in by accident to some tribe, and then they basically set them like on an altar and they started worshiping the emblem of the British Air Force. Right. It's like people like want something to worship. And so anything with enough voltage, they'll just kind of like stick to and be like, you're our God. Like Madagascar, that cartoon when the fucking,
I haven't seen that.
Is it Madagascar? There's like there's a scene like that where somebody accidentally becomes a god in their tribe.
Yeah, well, and there's always got to be that leadership figure because, like, I've done deep dives into cults. I just find the psychology of it all fascinating. Yeah, and there's always like the leader, and they tend to be a certain archetype, and I would say like there's threads that run through all of them. But without, like what Isaac is saying is also true because without that, the power of the people that is given to the leader, they don't become what they are, and it's only like the worst of the worst cults, like what's the one where they all drink the Kool-Aid, whatever. I forget the name of it. Yeah. Like it only gets to that point where people are doing crazy shit because of the people giving their power to the leader, and then it's just like this megalomania that ensues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because people have different arcs. When I was in the ashram, the guru didn't start out that way, but people get corrupted.
Yeah.
It's just a fact 100%. Of life. And then that's why I love the Christian ideal of like, call no man father. Everybody puts on their pants the same way, one leg at a time. Like there's literally never make an idol out of a man or a woman. Like it is the biggest folly you could ever do. Mm-hmm. And when people do that, I think a lot of times they feel shame that they did that. Yeah. Even when the person wasn't even asking for it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's a funny psychology to watch. A lot of people get also upset because they'll give their power away, and then they'll blame the person that they upset.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then they feel shame about that, and they want to hide themselves. They want to hide from that shame, and so they're always pointing the finger out. And so, yeah, people are a little bit gay sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People be doing that. Well, good on you for having that experience and actually being a voice of reason and experience that people can gain some wisdom from, because I see it happening more and more. There's something about this era we're moving into. I think, there's going to be a bit more of this kind of cult-like behavior in some sectors, and people can avoid it. But I think also not to be afraid of it, because people are like, I don't want to be a part of any group because it's going to end up being a cult or something. It's like, don't put that much.
I love the axiom that's been laid down by BB, in the sense, like, if you can't laugh at yourself, you got some work to do.
Yeah. 100%.
Because everybody is kind of weird and stupid and all the rest of it, right? So like if you can't actually, like, if somebody ribs you and you take offense, remember, if you're offended, you're the one with the problem.
Yeah.
Like,
that's a really good advice. We use that in our marriage. You are the one with the problem. Yeah.
Like, come on. Like, literally, like, I remember when I was coming up, like, it was like, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Now it's like the exact opposite.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, not a word. Ooh. Like, come on, guys. Like,
and especially the people that are getting offended on other people's behalf. Like, most of the people that get offended by, like, black jokes and stuff, like, are white. And it's like, why are you getting offended? Like, it doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does not make any sense at all.
So, thank you. And just quickly, when's the Elementals Festival on, and where can people find your biochar, follow you, see what you're up to, all the things? So
it's the Elementals Gathering. .com, and that's May 8th through the 10th, and that's here in Mountain Grove, Missouri. So you can go to the website, and that's wonderful. And then the biochar is at blackgoldbiochar.com. We're that on all the socials also. And we'll be having biochar in your country pretty soon here. Probably within a couple months. So
amazing.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to see this expansion and be a part of it. And thank you guys for having me.
Thanks so much for coming.
It was fun.
Yeah, love this.
Yeah, wish you all the best. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you very much.